Calling to order the City Commission Special Meeting Workshop of Monday, August 10th, 2026. It's 6 p.m. We're in beautiful Birmingham City Hall. Welcome, everyone. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ballard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Long.
Here.
Commissioner Haig.
Absent.
Commissioner Host.
Here.
Commissioner Kolb.
Here.
Commissioner Kozowski.
Here.
Okay. We have a presentation from the city manager and a discussion on public-private partnerships.
Yes, and Alex, can you put it up on the screen if you don't mind? Thank
The
you.
clicker should be ready.
I've got the clicker.
Oh, and Brent's beating the
Clicker is ready.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, I just have a very quick PowerPoint presentation. It's like 5 or 6 slides long. I'm just going to go over it so you understand the context of the discussion, then we'll come back because there's 2 particular issues that I think we need clear direction from the commission on, okay? So to start with, public-private partnerships, I think we've talked about them before. Let's see if my clicker works.
Kazam.
There we go.
There we go. Excellent. Okay. So we've talked about public-private partnerships before. What are they? They're collaborative agreements between a local government and the private sector, right? So that we can each bring our strengths together and we can get something done that serves the benefit of the public. And we can, hopefully when we combine with the private sector, we use some of their strengths, which, private equity, efficiency, technology, things that they can do a little faster maybe and more efficient than we can. But basically you can see from this diagram here that there has to be a lot of agreement up front as to what it is we want. And so what we're here today to talk about is one of the royal blue segments on that chart, basically the political commitment to a delivery through a public-private partnership. Because if we're going to do it, we need to have a clear grasp on what we want to do, what we expect out of a developer, what we're prepared to give them in exchange for what they will give us, and then have a clear process to move through it. So to start, we need to talk about what is our priority public benefits? What do we want? The bottom question is, what outcome does the city want the public-private partnership to deliver? What do we want? Do we want extra parking? Do we want redevelopment of underutilized sites? Do we want redevelopment of parking lots to include parking and or other uses? Do we want, some additional green space, park space, plaza space? Do we want infrastructure improvements, whether it be at a certain intersection or on a certain street or in an area? All of those things are all benefits that you could derive from a public-private partnership. So we want to talk about what benefits we want to see out of a deal. So the second part then is, once we know what it is we want, we have to be clear on what it is we're willing to get or to give to get that benefit. So for instance, the biggest things are, what are we willing to do? Some communities do tax abatements. I'm not suggesting we do tax abatements, but that's one thing. A long-term lease of public property, because if a developer has access to public property, that's something that they can't buy on the open market, right? Because we don't sell that property unless we go to a charter amendment, and we're not proposing that. But if you enter into a long-term lease, that gives them the stability they need to do a development over a long term, and we get to control it. So we still get what we want, which is our vision for whatever that particular site is, and we still have the control, but it gives them a cheaper land cost, I guess, is the best way of saying that. And then what other things are we willing to give? Are we willing to give extra height? Because if we're going to ask them, let's say, to provide 2 levels of public parking on a site, and we know that you can't really fit that within our 5-story regulations, and I'm not saying we should do this, I'm saying this is an example of something we could do. Then in order to get 2 levels of public parking, we might need to give them an extra 2 levels to do the private uses that they might do, whether it's office or retail or residential. We might want to change our use regulations. For instance, downtown, we allow 5 stories and we dictate first floor has to be retail in most areas, no more than 2 floors of office, and then residential. So you could change that office requirement. You could give them extra office space if that would help them to fund the additional parking, right? For instance. These are all things that we could provide to them. Also, we could have an expedited review process, priority plan review, priority sending them to the different boards, whether it's the planning board or the city commission or both. And so basically we want to talk about what are we willing to contribute to this agreement and to what extent? Because, you know, for instance, let's take the biggest one, height, right? If we're willing to give them an extra floor of height and we're asking for 300 new public parking spaces, is 1 floor going to give them the return that they need in order to provide that 300 public parking spaces and have it work in the pro forma of their development, right? So these are the questions, and this is what the city commission's goal is. You guys set the policy objectives, right? So you need to determine, A, what public benefit, we've said before we're committed to doing a public-private partnership solicitation and going out to private developers and seeing what they're willing to come back to us. But before we do that, I think it's very clear that we need to decide what the vision is, the benefits that we want to see, what we want to see, potentially where we want to see it, or we can be open and let them come to us with their innovative ideas from the marketplace, right? And then what are we willing to give? And what do we expect? If we give 1 extra floor of height, for instance, what do we want? 100 parking spaces? 200 parking spaces? All of these things are going to matter in the pro forma of the development, because if we're only willing to give 1 floor, and I'm picking the easy example, what does that do to their numbers? Does it make it something that is going to be a partnership that's going to give them what they need and us what we need? Right? So these 2 questions are what we're going to focus on tonight. What do we want to see? What are the public benefits? What's our vision? And then what are we willing to offer? And then as we move forward, I think we've talked before, as you know, we hired Plant Moran, and we're going to use them, and we will have them at future workshops or discussions, because basically they're the experts, that they put the money, they quantify all of this information. They put the value on what is the benefit we're seeking, how much is it costing a developer to provide that, what is the contribution that we're willing to make, like if we do a long-term land lease, does a developer need a 50-year term or a 99-year term in order to get financing for the project? And then what, for every contribution that we offer, how much benefit does it give us? They would then, once we've decided what we want in terms of public benefit and what we're willing to give, then we go to them and have them quantify all of that, put monetary amounts on all of that, and come and show us how deals could be structured to give us what we want based on how far we're willing to go in terms of offering some type of contribution, whether it's land or height or density or what have you. And then if we want to go out to RFP for public-private partnerships, like we talked about before, we want to have all of this laid out so we can lay it out and we're really clear to developers when they come in with a proposal. And then we would also have Plant Moran come in and review any proposals that we solicit, right? So they would do a detailed dive into the numbers and give us a recommendation as to where we want to go. But they don't get to tell you what your vision is as a commission for what you would want to see out of a public-private partnership. So I'm just going to go back to this screen and leave it open for discussion. So I think we need to start here. What is it that you want to see out of a public-private partnership? I've certainly heard people talk about additional parking downtown. You know, there's always the broadening the array of housing options that are out there. Do we want to activate a street? All of these things.
If I may, thank you. So I want to be clear on the second question. The first question is kind of open-ended, and we can throw out anything we want in terms of what kind of benefit we're looking for. When it comes to what we're willing to give up, I want to make it clear in case the city manager was not clear. We're not today being asked to decide how many extra floors we might be willing to give, or whether there should be a tax abatement, or how long a ground lease should last for. There are a couple of things, though, that if we're not willing to do it, so it's really a binary yes or no on the ground lease. If we're willing to entertain the idea of a ground lease, then we can move forward. If we're not, then we might as well not even move forward, right? Because it won't work. That's end of the road. Now, let's say we say, so that simple question, yes or no, we're willing to talk about it. And, I don't know, for example, is it 50 years, 75 years, 100 years? Which piece of property are we talking about? Do we want, are we willing to have a ground lease on anything? Or are there certain properties that we want to talk about a ground lease on? That's one question. Pretty simple. The question of what we want to get out of it, great. The other question of what we want to give up, that's more, that's looser. It's deal specific. But truly, I think if you're not willing to give somewhat more density, if you say our 2016 plan is our 2016 plan, and even the public property within the central business district, or down by lot 6, must stay no more than 5 stories, I think if we're not going to give that, if we're not going to give more density higher, some extra height, we got to figure out something else we got, because the ground lease ain't going to cut it. Not for much. You're not going to get much out of a ground lease. This I know from enough conversations I've had. So it's almost like, yeah, we're willing to talk. Depends on the project. Let's see what it is. Let's move forward. If you say no to that,
On where?
it depends on where. I would say the same thing.
Because I'd be willing to have a conversation about Triangle District or Railroad or the train district, but central downtown, no. It's as dense as it can get, unless we're going to add another garage, or we get the developer to add another garage.
That's
Yeah.
part of the thought. That
Right.
so let's take a property, it could be a hypothetical property, or you could say, let's talk about the Pierce Street structure or North Old Woodward area. Either one, there's the potential going underground, going up, to put in, so you might set, this is just a hypothetical, we want at least as much parking that's already there. We actually want to increase it. So let's say there's 750 spaces. We want 1,000 public spaces, plus we want you to park whatever development you propose there. So if you propose office, you propose residential, whatever you propose, you have to park it there in addition to giving us extra parking. How high do you have to be? Or how low do you have to go? Or what do you need out of us? What do you need from us
Right.
beyond the ground? If we're willing to have those conversations, then we can move forward with a whole lot of other questions like, well, do we want to just invite public-private partnerships for any of these properties? Or do we want to focus here or there, or here and there, but not there, right? Just like you said, depends on where. And it can get pretty complicated and probably costly to evaluate if we just open the door to anything. But, I mean, we don't have to send everything to Plant Moran. We can go through, Plant Moran would love to come in and handle everything for us. And I think, and I hope you'll agree, that we've got enough competence on this commission and in the city staff to look at what comes in and say, maybe, nah, wow, whatever. and then pass that along. So I'm going to shut up. Yes, please.
I think that the process we discussed last time involved that there would be an initial proposal and that the city would look at it and maybe involve the commission. And if there was general agreement that we thought it was worth pursuing, then we would start running the meter at Plant Moran, but not automatically. I do want to disagree or take issue with the term you're using, what we want to give up. I don't look at it as giving up. It's what we would contribute. And I think what we're trying to do is develop a menu of options that we are willing to consider, obviously site-specific, project-specific. The public property is not technically covered by the zoning that is in place for all the other buildings. So I would be willing personally to look at additional height, but only if it was, equivalent to an additional floor, one floor gets you two, or maybe two floors get you one. We'd have to work that out, but decide on the side of the building. But you could get more parking, more public parking, I think might be worth a trade-off because parking is very expensive to build. It's not unreasonable to think that we might want to look at some of the decks, for example, the ones that have not been repaired yet that are going to be very expensive, to say, if you're willing to replace that and you're willing to give us more spaces, and as you said, you're going to park yourself, that might be a win-win-win solution. I'm also not opposed to a long-term ground lease. We already do long-term ground leases around town, the triangle by the old Hunter House and things like that. I think we had one example of the old, the original North Oldwood project that went down in flames. And I don't think that people were necessarily opposed to a ground lease. What they were opposed to, what I was personally opposed to, is that there was no benefit to the public that was equivalent to what the project was originally going to be, which was back when RH was going to be there. They were going to replace the deck, but it was going to basically be connected to and serve RH. It was going to be almost a private enterprise that benefited that, and it had no public benefit as far as improving access to the riverfront or community spaces that I thought were equivalent to the amount of money that they were going to recoup. So I don't think that the idea is bad. I think that project, went down in flames because it was grossly imbalanced and did not benefit the public to the degree that it should have. So personally, I'm willing to put looking at density and looking at long-term ground leases on, the menu, project is specific.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a particularly helpful thing to say, I guess, but I'm open to pretty much anything, right? I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be deal specific, and somebody's going to come with an offer, and the numbers will either look like a net benefit to the city, or they will not look like a net benefit to the city. But none of the things that we discussed here today strike me as like red lines that I would refuse to cross. It would just depend on what the benefit looks like relative to our contribution.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Yeah.
So the one comment I would make is, I think instead of casting a huge net over all of Birmingham, we should pick an area that we're going to focus on. So maybe we can get 3 or 4 different proposals from different organizations that come in that we can then assemble a little bit and say, well, he's going to give us 5 floors, he's going to give us 2 floors of parking. Now we got something, let's put them there. And now we got the nucleus of something special.
Do you mind if we continue the conversation into like what he's talking about? Because it sounds like, we got the answers that you're looking for.
Pretty quickly.
And one of the things we talked about was, do you do a catch-all, like just bring it on, or do you say certain sites? So the sites are pretty clear, I think. The parking decks that are over 50 years old, that are, having trouble, or not having trouble, they're over 50 years old. We haven't
Updated them yet.
updated them yet. Pierce, Park, and North Old Woodward. Now, we've done some work on North Old Woodward, and it's an enormous piece of property. Now, I think when we talk about these three, there's probably some prep. Okay, and then you have Lot 6. Everybody know what Lot 6 is? Down by the farmer's market. That's Lot 6. You almost want to have staff do a report on the pros and cons of each. We can kick it around. Pierce is right in the middle of town. No other than Merrillwood, no real adjacent residential. And it's one of the decks that's sort of full. I want to point out, this is not an answer to any parking, this is a long-term partial answer to the parking issues that we have. North Old Woodward, certainly, it's 3 times the size of Pierce, I think. It's 4.something acres.
The site, for sure.
Yeah, the site. And so a lot more potential, maybe, with that. There is
Could be
some
more interesting for a developer to develop on that, to build a path through it, and a couple different,
Oh, yeah, I think so.
and you can go down.
Yes, and, well, you can go down on both sites, but you get a lot more for every level down you go at North Old Woodward. But there's also residential adjacent. There's the river adjacent, which probably, I think during the previous development proposal, they probably dealt with all the Eagle questions that would arise and so did Brookside.
Yeah, because there's floodplain back there, you have to look at that. But also, it's an opportunity, too, because that whole view and river area is not open to the public to see. You go down there and you look at a fence, and you can't even see the river.
Right.
So
Right.
that could be a benefit to open that up and make it part of the public experience, if it's a plaza or access down to the river, what
And
have
then
you.
Park Street, and I'm going to just say a couple more words and then shut up and let you guys discuss. Park Street's interesting because it was once, first of all, Park Street didn't exist at one time. It was a Park Street, and where the Park Street deck is was a surface parking lot. And now we have an alley and Park Street and the deck. So when you think about the Park Street property, you got to include the alleyway. And you may even say, well, if we're going private, if we're bringing private people in, should we talk to the property owners with frontage on the north side of Hamilton? Now that's a pretty big chunk of property. And I've heard people advocate vacating Park Street because it's just part of the old ring road. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it's certainly an interesting potential. The easiest one to do among those would be maybe Lot 6, because it's empty. There's nothing there. And Pierce, which is pretty simple. It's just a chunk of land. We own all of it. It's not, it doesn't have the river and all that. But anyway, so we could go out and say any of those, or we could say, we only want you to focus on this one.
I think all 4 of those are interesting, just to see what people have in mind. I also think, do we want to see development in Triangle and Rail? Yes, but we don't own any land there, which is a problem. We've talked about that for years. We would have to buy stuff. And there are grossly derelict style, underutilized, we've had demo issues over there, but people are just aggregating that land and sitting on it, waiting for something to happen.
Although Lincoln Yard is for sale. I don't know what they're
Yes.
asking. But I think any time land goes on the market in either of those districts, we ought to be
Looking.
paying attention. How big is it? What's the price? What could we do with it right now? In the meantime, I mean, we're not going to run a restaurant there, right?
It's
And
close
we're
to the golf
probably not
course,
going to redevelop. No,
Lincoln Yard is close to the golf course, isn't it?
no,
No,
it's
it's on the
across the
other
street.
Across
Oh,
from
this side, right, okay, you got it.
Across the street from
From
the
the ice rink.
ice rink.
Yeah.
We do own the DPS yard and the fire station, but
Right.
we're not going to really get rid of Fire Station 1 or the DPS yard, you know.
No.
Could we utilize it a little better? Maybe, but it doesn't give you as much option as you do
Right.
Yeah.
some of the other sites.
Just because of the size.
The size and the use that we need it for as well.
Yeah. Is there like an obvious, probably is like an obvious zoning map or something where we can just see every parcel the city owns in the
Website.
city?
Oh, that the city owns?
That the city owns?
Right, because
Yeah.
we're talking about what potential sites
They're
are we looking at?
mainly-
And I agree that the parking garages are sort of the most obvious ones. They're big, they're downtown. But I think that we do own other pieces of land that when we think about some of these other projects, you know, parking takes up a huge amount of space, so you need a huge lot. To have some kind of supplemental police station, I don't know, maybe you need less land, maybe we have something already, or we could cobble something together with a piece of property that we already own that we could then do,
For a police station?
yeah, or some sort of
Or you could-
or an auxiliary
Or
police
you
station or
could
something,
say
right?
that we want a police station in the Pierce Street, at the Pierce Street property.
Sure,
which
I'm
is
just
right
saying,
there.
it would be,
Right.
it would be good to know
Most of them
what
are
parcels
small.
we
I
own.
have
Also
to-
do it in that parking lot over there on back outside of Shane Park.
Very
Most of the towns
small.
Small.
Yeah, no, that parking lot's very important to people. That's why it's there instead of it being all park. That was a compromise, instead of going underground for parking, which would have ruined the aesthetics of the park and been 4 times more expensive, you know, for underground
When,
spaces.
so,
Sorry.
the significant lots that we own, and I'm not advocating redevelopment of them or development of them, there's 2 on Southfield Road, right by, just north of 14, and then
Right,
there's the one near Kenning Park, right, on the other side of Lincoln,
the
the
little square,
north east corner of,
right.
Yes.
And Parks and Rec has looked at that several times for several uses and even to add parking, and the city engineering keeps telling them no, because there's so many utilities under that piece of property.
Really?
Yeah, tons. They didn't even want parking there, because we looked at that.
And then all the parks, and I'm not suggesting we redevelop
No,
the
no,
parks,
no.
but all the parks we own, that's the vast majority of our public land.
Right.
Right.
And I think the public has spoken many times that they don't want to convert any park land. So then, you know, we have the golf
Yeah, there's a little
courses,
piece
we have-
across from Manor Park, there's a corner that people are very passionate about keeping as an adjacency to their yards.
and it's totally residential, whereas
Yes,
some of the
yep.
others are
Right.
either commercial or commercial adjacent.
Parking lots and structure sites are definitely the low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better word,
Right.
because they're bigger sites, and they're not right immediately in the middle of a neighborhood, they're not converting parkland, you know, all of those things.
So Ferndale did sort of a PPP thing for the DOT, you know, it was a surface lot, and now it is a multi-use, it's got retail, it's got some civic space, and then it's got parking. And so they did a similar thing to redevelop a space, get more parking and get more retail and civic uses.
So as long as we're talking about parking, or, you know, is that, so the city manager has given us several sorts of things that we might want. Additional public parking,
Yep.
more housing options, like if we said smaller units, whatever. Police station, park or plaza space, infrastructure. Could we just accept cash?
Small bills unmarked.
I mean, is that a thing? Could somebody say, look, I'll give you $10 million, go do a few streets?
And let me do whatever I want here.
Well, whatever, it would be a negotiation,
Like, we would just
yeah.
lease them the ground for money, and then we do whatever we want with the money.
Is that a thing? Is that even like
Well-
legal and possible?
I want to say we did do something similar on a smaller scale in the Triangle District where we gave somebody an additional square footage if they paid money into a parking fund. Cool, that's kind of similar, but on a smaller scale. But
That's in the ordinance.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. But it's, we've had some issues with it, to be fair.
But it's in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in the ordinance, yeah.
I think you're better off with a coupled partnership of the land owned by the city for development, for the
Okay.
dual purposes as the manager has outlined.
So what are the thoughts about the kind of public benefit we want in return for what we give?
136, or one, hold on, 1, 3, and 5 on that list.
So additional public parking,
Yep.
a police you focusing on a police station, or are you?
No, civic
kind of-
facilities.
Civic
Put in
facilities.
a new pool and maintain it for a decade, just for argument's sake.
Okay.
Okay.
And infrastructure.
Yes.
Those would be my three. I mean, I don't know of any underutilized areas. What?
Right.
Well, a surface parking lot is an underutilized
Oh,
area, right?
okay, well, yeah, well, you would get that.
Yeah.
You would get both if you put, yeah.
And keep in mind with Lot 6 that there is a very large floodplain
Yep.
area controlled, and
Right.
that lot floods.
Well, I would expect that if there was a development on that lot, we would solve that problem once.
The
and for
developer
all.
would solve it, yeah.
Right, like if you were building there, couldn't you do whatever needs to be done? It
Didn't we
might be
have a
very
project that
costly,
we
but
decided not to do because of the cost?
you build the river to go
I don't,
Or
past it.
retention tanks.
I know, like, for instance, is it 856 North Old Woodward? Took years to get somebody to put in a development there just because of the parameters. There was
Right.
Where? What's 850?
the Pearl.
Oh,
the
oh, yeah,
Pearl.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I can remember for years trying to market that to people, hey, you want to do something here, but it's a tough site, there's a slope, it's in the floodplain, there was contamination from uses to the north, all of those things, so. But that was a privately owned site.
Right.
But the floodplain does cause a lot of issues in the back there.
If somebody has a good idea and they think it's worthwhile, they'll figure it out.
Do you guys agree that those are some of the things we'd be looking for?
Sure. I just want to mention, when I found out that the Varsity Shop, which, by the way, is right through you,
Used to
Mr.
be.
Mayor. Yes, we used to be. The owner gave us $10,000 for the little park between their building and the Pierce deck. And I thought, how gracious of them to do that. And then I found out that the parking shortage on that building is 50 cars. So 10,000 was not a nice enough donation.
Just for the record, to clarify, when you say the parking shortage, what are you?
On the Varsity Shop
They
building.
did not receive a parking variance, so they're not short on their parking.
So, I want to make sure we're dealing in facts here.
Well, the point is, it's a 5-story building, and all it was required to do is have 2 parking spots in the
How many
basement.
residential units are in there?
Because the penthouse, they
There's
have 2
one
spots.
residential unit?
Yeah, you
That's
need-
all they're required to have.
Correct.
So there's no, how
My
did you
point
term it?
is, a $10,000 donation was chump change, whereas for a while, I thought this was a lovely thing to do.
All right, I'm not focused on the $10,000 donation. I'm focused on your assertion that there was some deficit, what did he say?
Shortage. of parking
Shortage, is that what the word he used? Shortage?
For that location, you only need to provide parking for the residential unit.
Okay,
2
that's
spaces for
correct.
1 unit.
So
That's
there
all
was-
that's required.
So let's be clear on, when you say there was a shortage and suggest that somehow that $10,000 donation was made for them to get approval
No.
based on some non-existent shortage? There was no shortage, let's be clear, and the city attorney can confirm that. There was no payment made in return for any consideration made. So
Correct.
let's be careful about accusations about being factual. Now, it is your assertion, I assume, that they created a demand of, what, did you say 50 spaces?
50 cars.
That
yeah.
you think that they're bringing 50 cars into the town? Is that essentially what you're saying?
According to our, square footage requirements.
Well, you'd have to look at the actual use and see how many people are in there and how many cars are coming in. That's what really matters. It doesn't matter what standards we apply to some other part of town. If we were to apply those standards, we'd have Adams Square parking lots all over the place. Part of the reason we don't have Adams Square parking lots all over the place, and we're getting a little off topic here, is that we understand how parking works and how there's shared parking and how a development like that would put extra load on the parking system, but not necessarily to the extent that the parking requirements that we have outside the central business district would I'm losing my,
Right.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so-
Okay, the point is, right? That's your assertion, okay? There's no, and I'm going to correct it. It's not shortage. There's no shortage of parking. They didn't pay any money to get anything in return.
It was a donation.
And it, yes.
But I'm pleased you brought up Adams Square. We actually haven't mentioned that specifically. There would be a perfect spot for a public-private partnership.
Well, maybe you can speak to the owners. There are two owners of Adams Square, and bring them to the table. That would be amazing. That would be a true contribution.
Do we own the
We
post
don't
office
own.
land?
No, we don't own
No.
any of the property.
No, it's federal.
But
Yeah.
land doesn't have to be the only thing we contribute, the use of land. We
No, when you
still
think
could
about benefit, though,
contribute some other.
that parcel from end to end,
Sure.
including the post
In
office?
that case, the private would be giving up the land.
Right.
The public would be contributing to some development there.
Yeah.
In exchange for a benefit, whatever that
Yeah.
we might want to see there.
So I hear, is there any more? Good. We have plenty of time. I hear, what was it,
135, I think.
1, 3, and 5?
Additional parking, construction of civic facilities, and infrastructure improvements. Is that 1, 3, 5? Yeah.
Yeah, not that we would, the others might,
The others might be an opportunity to squeeze in, but from
right, but
from
your priority is 1,
priorities.
3, and 5. All right, so, public comment.
And I would also say one other thing on priorities. I think Lot 6 and North Old Woodward would be the location priorities for me.
Lots and lots of considerations once you take one of those properties out of service. You've got 2 years before those parking places are replaced.
Just the existing, never
Yep.
mind the additional.
Yep.
Have you gotten answers that you wanted or needed?
Yes, with regard, yes, I'm sorry, we're back to public benefits, yes.
Oh, everything, the whole
Yes.
thing.
I think.
I
we-
heard
that
ground lease is possible.
Ground lease is possible, and I heard from several of you that some regulatory flexibility might be
Mm-hmm.
in order to, site-specific, project-specific. So yes, I think that answers the policy questions, because before we go down this road and invite people to give us partnership ideas, if we're not clear on what we want and what we're willing to contribute, then we're just
Right.
wasting our time.
I will also say that we need to be fairly resolute. Now, she hasn't asked for a vote, and we're not necessarily going to vote on this, but certainly once we start talking to developers and making decisions about how we're going to proceed, we can't be changing our mind about stuff. It's, we got to know where we stand and have all the information we need to make those decisions, and then be a good faith partner. Any other comments from the commission before we get public comment? Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. You're our new
I'm Frank
fox
Paisano,
to,
612 Davis Avenue. I'm not a good singer. No, I just had a quick question. I'm coming tonight as a resident, but I do have a question about the library and the administration contract that we have with the ongoing with the city. Just a couple of things there's a couple new commissioners here, just a little backdrop. Back in December 2024 or January 2025, city came to the library and wanted to renew a new administration contract because it was way overdue. Ours expired in 2013, and what they were paying is far less than what you're currently paying now for salaries and everything that the city has to do. And as everybody knows, since COVID, everything's a lot more expensive. So they came to the library. We have a discussion. They are currently working with the city, but we haven't heard anything from the city since April 21st about the contract. And I just didn't know. And hey, I know you guys have been really busy with other projects in the city, so I totally understand.
She'll address it.
And but I just didn't know the timeline of when we can maybe.
Can we let her
facilitate this.
address it?
Yes. Or, yeah.
Well, there has been work going on in the background between attorneys.
Okay.
Library attorney, city attorney, back and forth drafts of various agreements. And I think we're pretty much almost there in agreement and looking forward to having what we hope will be maybe one of our last meetings to cross the Ts and dot the Is.
Good.
Is that fair to say, Mary?
Yes, and I think it's also fair to say the delay is not the fault of the city, nor the fault of your attorney. Your attorneys have been working very hard, and they've been really nice to work with, and they're very good and fair negotiators, but those things take time, so that we do it once and we do it right, so we never have to go through this process again.
And there's a lot more technical things behind it too, as we talk about if we're sharing benefits and payroll systems and all of this. And so we had to do a lot of deep dives too.
I agree, and I appreciate it. When I first, I think it's very important that we have a very good working relationship with all the different aspects of the city departments. And the library, I always want to have a very good working relationship with the city because we value what you do, and we are a partner to make sure that Birmingham is always top-notch, and we are giving our residents and people that come to our community a great feeling of what we've been able to produce. So I appreciate you all. I really appreciate the hard work. I know that you've been very busy with other things, but I didn't know if there was a timeline.
It's
Hopefully
been
by the-
going on,
Okay.
and I will tell you, we want to avoid this from coming up, in 5 years and
Right.
10 years and so
Okay.
on. So we're trying to lay it out in all of the agreements to be very clear what we're agreeing
Well, I
from
appreciate
both
your due
sides.
diligence and your looking into this, and I look forward to resolving it and working together in the future. I really appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Bloom, Birmingham resident. I have some comments to make regarding the public-private partnership discussion, and then I have a separate public comment to make. In terms of the public-private partnership discussion, I'm glad this discussion is happening. I think that before any significant large-scale development in this community or even significant moves on public-private partnership, we need to get a handle on the parking situation outlined and described in Mr. Reagan's recent report. Whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, it does have some serious implications for development, if that report is correct, that needs to be addressed. In terms of public-private partnerships in general, I think there are two properties that deserve significant attention right now, the Y property and the community house. I think that as well-intentioned as the idea of the Community House Foundation is, if there's some opportunity to have a public-private partnership with Pulte, which wanted to buy the property, give them a 99-year lease, let them put their name on it, have some conditions that they adhere to so the property can be used for the public benefits in Birmingham's. They can run it, they can use their capital and their know-how, and it would be easier for Birmingham. There would be more money behind it, and maybe we could have a better institution there with very little risk to Birmingham residents. I also think that there's a restaurant there. It's hardly ever used. There's an outdoor space. Call it the Birmingham Burger Bar. Lease it out to people or as pop-ups, sell beer and wine there, have a social district and allow people to take their beer in the park and their burgers. And you can have that place hopping 3-4 nights a week during the summer. If anyone here has been to Buns and Patties in Berkeley, that place is open till like 1, 2 in the morning, and the place is always busy. The food is great. We could have those people here spending money in Birmingham, contributing to the community house welfare, and it might be something worth to continue. And then one of the items on that list that was not endorsed by the commissioners is something on broader housing options. And I think that senior people might benefit from it. Senior housing, good senior housing is expensive. We do have some facilities in this community. It might be nice to have some type of affordable housing for seniors or more, where Birmingham residents that want to downsize or leave their homes could have an alternative place to go and be in the community. In terms of my public comment regarding public comment, this is on sustainability. And there's an old saying you've probably all heard of: the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The idea of sustainability, carbon neutral, zero, those are very well-meaning, noble things. It's also pretty unrealistic. First of all, anyone that saw the paper over the weekend about the Oakland County millages for police and fire that failed, we have a difficult economy now. It's harder for younger people to find jobs. And those communities didn't want to pay for police and fire, and now those communities don't know what they're going to do. So the idea that Birmingham residents and people that come here are a fountain to tap for fees, taxes, whatever you want to call them, I think is a mistake. Anyone that thinks that these sustainability things are a good idea or going to work should check out a podcast from 2 weeks ago on trigonometry with Scott Tinker, who's a climate change expert, and he debunks, he does believe that there's climate change, and what he said is that Europe moved to carbon neutral maybe 20 years ago, and there's been no economic growth. Great idea. Let's shut down the coal power plants. Let's shut down the nuclear power plants. What happens? The production moves to China and India, where they don't have those regulations. People feel good that they're doing those things, and the carbon is just coming another place in the world, and it's still here. So the idea that you're going to do something meaningful, it's nice to think that, but you're going to be taxing people and spending money to think that we're doing something useful and beneficial, and it's not. And I would encourage you to check out that podcast. And then back in 1995, Thomas Sowell wrote a book called The Vision of the Anointed. Self-congratulation is a basis for social policy. I would all encourage you to check that out as well. It's nice to have well-meaning policies. You guys want to help the public. You want to serve your community. And some of these ideas sound really good, but when you start to apply them and put them in practice, they don't pan out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment in the room? If you're online, please use the raise your hand function. Seeing no public comment, bring it back to the commission. Does anyone have anything further to say about private partnerships? If not, I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn this workshop.
I have one question.
Nope.
Weren't we going to develop like an application page that people could fill out for if they were interested in a PPP, like
Yes.
an entry point? And are we still working on that?
Yes.
Okay. With that, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? None. To the regular City Commission meeting of August 10th, 2026, at 7 p.m. in beautiful downtown Birmingham City Hall at 151 Martin Street. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Bingham, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Ballard,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Long,
Here.
Commissioner Haig is absent, Commissioner Host,
Here.
Commissioner Kolb,
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, awards, appointments, resignations, and confirmations, administration of oaths, introduction of guests and announcements. I'm going to, with the City Commission's consent, flip of announcements and appointments and go straight to appointments. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have an appointment tonight of Police Chief Ryan Kearney. We're very proud to do this, and help me out. What do we do?
Well, we're going to swear him in. First of all, he is my appointment. I did interview him, and I talked to several of the other police captains in looking to fill former Police Chief Gruey's position. Do we want to go inside? Do we want to go outside? I think I'm definitely recommending Captain Kearney for the new police chief position. He's got extensive background from his schooling, his experience here, his staff and command classes that he's taken, all of the things I outlined in the memo. So it is my recommendation that you bless essentially the appointment of Captain, soon-to-be Chief, Ryan Kearney as the new police chief.
So this requires a motion.
It does?
And are there any questions from the commission regarding this appointment or your advice and consent? None?
I would like to make a motion adopting a resolution to confirm the city manager's appointment of interim police chief Ryan Kearney as police chief and direct the clerk to administer the oath of office to Chief Kearney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Enthusiastically.
Opposed?
And Chief Kearney is joined by his wife this evening to share in the honor. Both of his children are engaged in their after-school activities, obviously, so they were unable to join us, but.
Good, well, let's do it.
She should be up on your side. Raise your right hand, and you'll say, "I do" after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of this state, and endeavor to secure and maintain an honest and efficient administration of the affairs of Birmingham, free from partisan distinction or control, and to perform the duties of office of police chief according to the best of my ability.
Yes, I do.
Just sign right there, I'll do the rest.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. At your option, you may say a few words or not.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Commission, City Manager. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's an honor and privilege to become the next police chief of the city of Birmingham. I've been here 23 years, since 21 out of the academy. I've seen the city grow, I've seen the department grow, and I've loved every minute of it. I want to also thank all my colleagues in the back here, everybody that I worked with over the years to make this place such an awesome place to work, and especially my wife Danielle and my family. Everybody knows that police work does not come easy for the family easy. There is a lot of shift work and holidays and sacrifice to the family, so thank you for always supporting me and standing by my side.
Excellent, thank you. So now we can go to announcements. And there is an error. It is not Mayor Pro Tem Long's birthday. Not today, not this week, not even this month.
It was last month and it was lovely, thank you.
The clerk's office would like to thank the election inspectors and city staff who helped conduct a safe and successful August 24, 2026 primary election. We also appreciate the many voters who participated by voting early, absentee, or in person. Approximately 40.14%. Approximately 40.14. Okay. Sounds like exactly of Birmingham's registered voters cast a ballot, exceeding the overall turnout rate in Oakland County of 36.58%. We should be very proud of that. Unofficial election results are available at oakgov.com/elections under the August election tab. Official results will be posted after the Oakland County Board of Canvassers completes the official canvass. As usual, I would also, it's not on the agenda, but we should put it on the agenda. Each meeting, I will be giving an update on the community house. As you know, Mayor Pro Tem Long and I are on the board. We're there for a reason to, among other things, provide oversight and reporting to the City Commission and the community on the House. I have several bullets here. We continue to get the House in order. It was not necessarily in order when we took it over. There were things like coffee makers left on in the kitchen and food in the freezer, and the freezer was running, freezer and refrigerator, and the freezer was running full blast with nothing in it. We had doors we couldn't open because we didn't have keys. We had to get everything rekeyed, new locks put in. All the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is being checked out. I'll get to that in a minute. And we continue to make good progress on the building, more to come on that. We're making great progress, I would say, in a very short period of time in establishing and fulfilling the vision that we have to restore the Early Childhood Center, to have a vigorous hospitality operation that will in turn fund programming. We have chosen, as I reported last time around, Birmingham Public Schools to be the operator of the Early Childhood Center. They have assured us and families in Birmingham that they will run a year-round program there, unlike some of the other programs they run, which are only during the school year, and that they will continue to take care of infants and toddlers. They are well on their way to licensing. They have good relationships with the regulators, and we are soon going to be executing a contract with them. With regard to management of the house, you may have heard me say in the past that we thought we had an operator who could take care of many, if not most, of the operations of the house. That was ambitious. We were very hopeful. The organization that we were dealing with needed board approval, which they did not get. And so we do have a Plan B, and we are working on that Plan B with all due haste. That will involve working with a hospitality provider who will also be able to take care of many of the functions of the house. That will still necessitate that we hire an executive director. We don't expect to be looking for anyone other than that soon. We've been very successful at recruiting pro bono contractors. Among the first, and I neglected to mention this in a memo to the commission recently, Near Perfect Media and Justin Neer was recruited for the PR, and they've gotten us an interview with WDIV shortly, and handled some news, and they'll handle all the news going forward. We recruited BMG Media and their owner, Blake George, to handle our website design, and they're already working on that, along with our content person who happens to be sitting next to me. some other people. Sam Cernow, who is a member of our board, and his team are securing the building. They've done almost all of the work on the building. Very interesting, funny story. I was in there, and I'll get to this in a minute, meeting with a representative of the YMCA, and we had left the door open out front, and this man wandered in. Turned out to be a fellow named Ramiz Babachik, who worked there for the last 7 years doing maintenance, and he said he would be delighted to help us out. I said we have next to zero money, and he said that's fine. I'll just work. This is my community. I want to help. And I'll tell you, every time I tell that story, it sends shivers up my spine. We have a member of the community who's attended many of our meetings. His name's David Stanislaw. He runs a consulting business that works on HR issues. He's volunteered to help us in finding and evaluating an executive director. This morning, I met with Ron and Roman. Many of you know Ron Ray and Roman Bonislawski. They've designed many of the restaurants in Birmingham and in the Detroit area. They are well known for making places that people want to be. And they were very impressed with the building and its condition and their ability. They offered pro bono to do design work on the interior. Not a lot of stuff they feel needs to be done. Paint, carpet, a few other things, not high-ticket items. And they also happen, because they design restaurants, they're very good at designing kitchens. And they said it was an amazing kitchen in great shape. It's a little dirty, but we can whip that into shape. So I've been working 10, 12-hour days on this. Other board members are putting in a lot of time. We are moving as fast as we can, and the president of the board and I, so the president is Anthony Long, who used to sit right here. We are not known as the most patient people in the world, and yet it's going to take some time. So we don't want to open the house before, as Mayor Pro Tem Long says, we have someone to clean the bathrooms. So there's a lot to do. We're putting the pieces of the puzzle together as quickly as possible. I have a few more things that are noteworthy. One of our most important partners so far in this has been ChatGPT. It has helped us in so many ways with forms, contractor questionnaires, best practices in many areas. One of the most amazing feats it pulled off last night, overnight. I asked it before I went to bed to go on the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you know what the Wayback Machine is, but it's a place where websites are stored forever. And I said, go back to the dawn of the internet, here are several domains that the community house operated under, scour those and anything else you can find, and tell me about the programming. And it came back with 30 years worth of data. It found 25 program books, more than 3,600 programs, and the names of more than 300 instructors who were involved in executing those programs over the years. It's amazing, and it's going to help us when we decide to reach out to the community, ask what they want to see. It's going to help us in many, many ways. Another very important topic, and this, please take note, and if you're from the media, please take note. They are not us. The meaning of that will become pretty clear. This morning, as we touring the building, the door was left open, and another woman wandered in, and she wanted a ticket to the Community House home tour. Well, the Community House home tour is not being run by the Community House this year. It's being run by the former occupants of the Community House. She was quite surprised to learn that, and I had to tell her they are not us. And but I mean by that is that the people who are running the Community House home tour this year are the very same people to whom we paid $5.2 million in taxpayer money so they could go run a home tour under our banner and start a foundation that serves a much broader community than us. Anyway, they are not us. Now, where that really matters is that if you or someone you know has included the community house in your estate plan, and if you intend that money to go to the community house, which is the beloved building at 380 South Bates, where maybe you took dance lessons as a kid or got married or married off your son or daughter, you need to make sure right away that your will or your estate documents or your trust specify that that money should go to the community house in Birmingham, the City of Birmingham Community House Foundation. We have an EIN, a federal tax ID number, and we have an address, and that's ours. And we wouldn't want there to be any confusion. And if you think you're giving money to the community house, double check and make sure that it's actually going to go where you want it to go. Okay. I do want to quickly address a letter that Commissioner Host sent to the board of the Community House Foundation, which made its way into the hands of most commissioners and also many members of the public. It recommended that the board give serious consideration, and this is his words, not mine, to making the community house the permanent new home for Next. Well, the board discussed that letter, our board of the City of Birmingham Community House Foundation, on August 4th. And the reality is that the Community House Foundation has neither the power nor the desire to try to force another independent nonprofit organization to act against its will. Next delivered a letter to us, and its board chair, George Dilgard, appeared before us, stating in no uncertain terms Next's belief, which it has expressed for quite some time, long before we obtained the community house, that the community house is ill-suited to its mission and its preference to stay the course outlined in its agreements with the city. And those agreements include a memorandum of understanding and a lease that has already been executed. And while our trustees, made clear that Next is welcome to use the community house as appropriate, and Next has enthusiastically said it would do so, having the entire Next operation occupy the community house would not align with the vision of the board. And finally, I want to reach out to my fellow commissioners and members of the community and reiterate that we do not intend to ask for taxpayer support of the community house, at least not any long-term durable support. We may ask for a loan. We'll figure that out when we need the money. Right now, we don't need the money. Rather, we ask for your contributions. Time, money, you name it. It's all welcome. No gift or pledge is too small. The Tim Allen donation, of which you have already been made aware, it was a matching grant. If we come up with $100,000 by the end of the year, Tim will match it. If we come up with less, he'll come up with less. There's a lot of good news here, though. The good news is you don't have to cut a check like the one of our board members did this weekend for $10,000. You could give us $9,000. Or any amount, or no amount. Instead, you could volunteer on a committee. We have finance, audit, governance, fundraising, communications, special events, programming, the building. These are all committees that are getting up and running and need your help. Or work for us, pro bono, if you're a professional. Or connect us with a contractor who's willing to work for us pro bono. Heck, I asked Commissioner Host to donate his email list to us. Believe it or not, the previous owners of the house took the email list with them too, and we have a challenge in communicating with the public, and this is why I'm talking to you at such great length tonight because we, right now, don't have an email list. So he can donate his email list. Others could donate theirs. The city attorney has assured us that there are perfectly legal and ethical ways to do something like that. So that's it. Please stay tuned. If you have any questions, you can send an email to info@birminghamcommunityhouse.org. As soon as our website is up, that's where it will be located. If that's too difficult, just send one to me at cballer@bhamgov.org. And if you'd like to make a donation, we're not yet up online, but you can send a check, a good old-fashioned check, to the City of Birmingham Community House Foundation and mail it to the Birmingham City Manager, 151 Martin Street, Birmingham, 48009. Thank you for your indulgence. Questions? Sir?
So can I just assume by your opening, because it was on my list of questions, that at every meeting we'll get an update of that sort?
I'm going to try to update you, possibly not at that length, but yes.
Because I think it's important, because we're
Absolutely, so do I.
kind of on the hook for, I think, for the success of the Community House Foundation.
We all are.
We all are. So the more information we get, the more we can help.
Absolutely. Commissioner Host?
Yeah, is there intent to have those meetings Zoomed as well as the agendas and the minutes sent out?
No, there is no intent to have them Zoomed. There's no requirement therefore, and we don't have the technological capacity right now to do that. We're focused on the business at hand. We are in the process of developing a slightly better way of getting our agendas out and a packet developed. For now, the meeting notice and agenda is posted as required by law on the front door of the community house at least 18 hours prior to a meeting. I can tell the public that our next meeting will be held at the community house on August 20th at 3 p.m.
And the city has been posting it on that portion, on the foundation portion of the city website as well.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Other questions? Okay. Well then, we can move on. We are now open to the public for matters not on the agenda. We welcome comment, limited to a certain 3 minutes per person at my discretion, on items or discussions that do not appear anywhere else in the printed agenda. We will avoid participating in question and answer sessions and will not take any action on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. You also will have the opportunity to speak on agenda items as they occur. If you'd like to make a public comment, please come up, state your name and your city of residence, but before we move to you, the city manager has a comment.
Yes, we were going to have an update on the water main break that occurred over the weekend, but
Oh,
we can
yes.
do that after public comment if you'd prefer.
Okay, all right.
Hi, thank you for your service. My name is Susan Lamphere. I actually live in Beverly Hills. I'm here just with a very quick but heartfelt thank you from Jerry Driscoll's family. Jerry Driscoll lost his life crossing 14 at Bates in May when he was walking his 2 labs. And Erica, his wife, and the family have gotten wind that things seem to be happening. They don't really know who to thank, but it sounds like Beverly Hills, Birmingham, and the road commission are working together to try to improve the safety of that crossing. So I know that means a tremendous amount to the family, so thank you.
And it means a lot to us for you to come tonight and tell us that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jay Seifman. I live at 420 East Frank Street, which is right across from the CVS. I was here about 6 weeks ago when the people were here, I think, from Poppleton or regarding their city streets. Anyhow, I was here about 6 weeks ago to discuss what I consider serious safety issues in the city, as well as the sewer system. And I've been complaining about the sewer system, and my wife's here as well, with different people from the city, including the sewer department, for about 4 years. And everybody seems to not know that we have a sewer issue. But in fact, 2 people ran for the commission who recognized that there's a sewer issue. And in particular, with our house where we're located, there are 3 storm sewers that are in front of our house, and 5 days out of 10, it smells like a horse barn. The sewer system is overflowing with fecal matter. It's absolutely disgusting. When I've talked to the sewer department, they say, we don't know of any problem. And so I would like, my telephone number is 248-496-4601, 248-496-4601. I would like somebody to communicate with me regarding the sewer. And I bring it up tonight because I noticed last week that you started working on the sewer system on Oak Street. So that's one issue. The other issue is the safety of the community. I believe that we are in a dire shortage of having police officers in this city patrolling and making sure that we're all safe. I understand, I don't know if it's true, but I saw on Instagram a riot in front of the Willets over the weekend with kids. On Sunday, after my wife and we walked from near 555 to the farmer's market on Sunday. On the way back, and we were south of Merrill Street, I noticed a tattooed man, walking down the street without a shirt on, all tattooed, and as he got within my distance from Clint, I noticed that he had a Glock 9mm strapped in front of him. Now, it's not against the law, because this is an open carry state. We all know it's an open carry state. But the lack of police presence is disturbing to me. We have a lot of violent crime growing in this city because people come near and wide to participate in the event, in whatever they're doing at night in downtown Birmingham. I myself would have rather had the board spend money hiring police, and I wish the police officers would have stayed, because we need more police presence, and we have situations, like I said, on Brown Street, from Brown Street South, it's like, dream cruise every night. And like I said before, where we are in Palm Beach, in the wintertime, they put a police car. You don't need a patrolman. It's like a scarecrow. You put a police car with lights on in the street. I notice, I go by the police station, and you got police cars sitting in the lot. So instead of have it sitting in the lot, put it out on Woodward, along the side streets, so that, people will come and maybe they'll slow down, but at least have something, because there's no police hardly ever going there. The last thing I'll say, and this relates to the sign in front of CB2 that was put up. There's a directional sign.
That's wrong.
All right.
We know that. We're working on it.
Yeah, I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, but the person next to me, when I walked up to the sign, said that we spent $250,000 on that sign.
No, we didn't.
I found it hard to believe myself. But
that's very astute.
obviously, the sign is facing in the wrong direction.
Right.
Okay?
Contractor knows. Thank you very
So
much.
what I really would, and I'm happy to participate in anything regarding public safety, and I especially want to be informed and interested in figuring out the sewer situation. I don't know how the owner of the Taxton Hotel hasn't approached you. Every time you walk by the tax,
We're going
it
on,
smells like stink.
what, 5 minutes?
Thank you, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, and I will ask the city administration to contact you and explain what a combined sewer is.
I know what it is.
Okay.
We got to do something about it.
Well, okay.
That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, David Bloom, Birmingham resident. I have a single question. Do we know the reason we did not get the email list from the community house when we arranged the $5 million purchase agreement? That's my question.
Thank you. The reason we didn't get the email list is because we bought the building. We're lucky we got the stuff that wasn't strictly the building. Anybody else? Online, use the raise your hand function. If you're in the room, approach, please. If there's no further public comment, we will move to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are routine, enacted by one motion, approved by a roll call vote. There is no separate discussion unless a commissioner or a citizen so requests, in which event we'll remove the item from the consent agenda and add it to the general order of business. Does anyone on the commission want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Nobody? Okay. Does anyone in the public want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Anyone online? Nope. Okay. Take a motion on the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented, including items A through L.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Long,
Yes.
Mayor Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolb,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Host.
Yes.
No city managers report tonight? Oh,
Would you like the update on the water main?
yeah, sure. Sorry.
Melissa, come on up. The city engineer is just going to give you a brief update on
Okay.
what's going on.
Good evening, City Commission. Approximately 4:30 on Friday afternoon, the city started receiving phone calls, emails, and GovPilot alerts of people having no water or low water pressure in the southwest corner of the city. So working with Department of Public Services, they got a crew on site later on that evening, and we were able to turn some valves upstream and downstream of the water main break to at least isolate the location and reduce the water from the water main break and restore pressure elsewhere in the system. On Saturday, DPS worked 12 hours to make the water main repair. They removed approximately 20 feet of 16-inch water main that removed and replacement for it. And then today, they did some fine tuning on the repair itself, just from working the long hours on Saturday. The first water sample was collected on Monday afternoon. We'll get those results back within 24 hours. The second sample will get collected Tuesday afternoon, and if that result is back Wednesday afternoon, then if those two tests pass, then we'll release the boil water notice that was issued to the southwest corner of the city to specify that that is residents located from Southfield Road to Cranbrook Road and Maple Road to the south city limits of Saxton, North Lawn, and that location there. And with this, because we received low water pressure and no water, we got 1 or 2 complaints of no water at all. With that, we have to do a blower wall notice until we get the 2 test results back.
Doesn't mean there was a water quality issue, but when the pressure drops, then you can have problems system-wide, so we're required to do that boil water advisory.
Commissioner Host.
Yeah, Melissa, have you determined what the problem, why this break happened?
Not yet.
And when I say you, I mean the city of Birmingham.
Not why, but we certainly know what it looks like, and we have pictures of the pipe, and the split runs numerous feet down the pipe.
Yes, I just received the pictures late this afternoon for Department of Public Services of how the water main break looked like. It looked like there's essentially two like pressure holes, probably about this big in the pipe, and then you start seeing it spread and split from the hole pressure to the end of the 20
windshield
feet.
crack, kind of.
Did you
Yes.
tell us how old that main was?
That 16-inch water main is from 1951.
Only 75 years, right on the nose. Pretty good at the math. Any other questions for Ms. Cota? Okay, thank you very much for remembering that for me. We move to new business. We have no unfinished business. Item A under new business is TIUDA, a public hearing, request to postpone. Is that correct? Would you like to introduce this?
Yes. So for 168 West Maple, which is TIUDA for a special land use permit and final site plan and design review, for the public hearing tonight, we did receive a request from the ownership asking us to postpone the public hearing due to a change in ownership. And so they're going to just be working on adjusting all of the documents they're requesting that you postpone the public hearing to a date certain so that we can have everything updated by September 28th, 2026. And the ownership is here tonight if you had any questions in regards to the request.
Please open the public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Open the public hearing. It's 7:36. The report stands on the record. Thank you. We need to ask the public if they would like to be heard. Anyone want to be heard on this public hearing, which is apparently going to be postponed? Seeing no one desiring to be heard, I will, anybody online, use the raise your hand function.
No.
Close the public hearing at 7:37. Yes, I would like to meet you. If you're here and you're the buyer, come introduce yourself. You're here, you might as well. And then, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to conduct any business, but it's always nice to know.
How are you all? Randy Fumiya. I've been in front of you guys a few times now.
For-
Terra Kitchen and Cocktails.
Oh, okay.
And number 28, that's going on Hamilton as well.
You're just buying up all the restaurants in town? What's going on?
You know what? I'm good at what I do. I grew up in the food industry, and, you know, I love the city. You know, I'm here all the time. I'm working in the restaurant every day as it is. And, you know, this was a different project for us because it's like a team effort. So, like, we've been open now at Terra for, you know, a little over a year and a half. And I feel like we're doing really good things there, and we have a really good team we have same management, probably 80% of our starting staff that's still been there. Not much turnover. So this was a project to incentivize the people we have in our team, head chef, general manager, where we could share good people that we have involved in our team to help grow with them as well.
TIUDA?
Yes.
Okay. So is your intent with regard to I think we've all seen partial, we haven't seen the final site plan, but we saw preliminary stuff. Is that your intent to do what?
Yeah, I think it looks really good. I haven't got into crazy detail with the architect that was originally working on it. I do, bless you, I do want to, get in with him and kind of discuss exactly I don't know exactly what needs to move and all that. So now that process can start in terms of doing that little patio, seeing exactly what needs to be done. But I think just creating a nice, it's 65 seats. It's not crazy big. Sit down, again, full service. It's not going to be like a fast casual or anything like that.
Is it going to be the same menu?
Yeah. So there's the equipment in there now is all running, like pizza oven, there's fryers, grills, all of that. So yeah,
we probably would want to trend away from like the breakfast aspect of things and do more like lunch, dinner, but like probably like an 11 to 9. And, maybe 10 on the weekends. But yeah, like, sandwiches, good handhelds, good salads, throw some pizzas in there as well. And, I think it could work, I mean, I love the location. He built a beautiful restaurant. I don't think there's, oh my God, so much you would want to change in there, right? It's brand new. So,
Great.
I think I could bring some good life.
Tell us your name again.
Randy Fumia. Randy.
Fumia?
Fumia, yes.
Fumia.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Fumia? Well, we really appreciate you coming
Thank you, guys.
tonight and giving us that little background.
Thank you.
Bring back the Italian salad at Terra.
Done.
You like that one, huh? All right, so do we need to do
Yes.
anything?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution to postpone the public hearing to September 28, 2026, to consider the special land use permit and final site plan and design review application for 168 West Maple to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption as a bistro establishment and a new outdoor dining facility under new ownership.
Second.
Does that require a roll call?
No.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, a small unanimity, but unanimous nonetheless. Limited unanimity, is that?
I'll go with it.
Fractional unanimity.
Marginal.
I like fractional. Okay. The next item of business is a resolution to award the South Eaton Water Main Project to Bidiger Contractors. Melissa's back.
Good evening again. So brought forward tonight would be the award for the South Eaton Water Main Project. Part of this project is to replace the water main on South Eaton from Humphrey to Lincoln Avenue before next year's projects of adding the bike lanes and repaving South Eaton from Maple to 14 Mile Road. With this, we went out to bids and we received 8 bids for consideration. Engineering Department recommends awarding the contract to Bidiger Contractors. They previously have done work in the city. Back in 2020, 2021, they worked a little bit on our lead service replacement program at that time. And I'm available to answer any questions City Commission may have of the project or the contract award.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Coda?
I think I have a question.
Yes.
So I was going through, obviously there's a request for a transfer to fill in this gap here. And reading Norick and Faust's report, they say the cost increases due to a combination of factors, including overall timing of the bid and construction schedule. And I was wondering if you could elaborate. I mean, obviously, they wrote the report, not you, but if you have some insight into what exactly it was about the timing of the bid and the construction schedule that may have contributed to the cost overrun.
So with this,
or deviation from the estimate, I think.
so sometimes what you run into is that right now gas prices are higher than they were 7, 8, 9 months ago type of a deal. So a lot of times when we do our budgeting for the projects and Norick and Faust does their preliminary estimate as the beginning of the design, we may see cost increase just because there's been a duration between their previous estimate and when the contract gets awarded. And during that time, there could be several variables, including gas prices, et cetera, that could increase the cost from when they preliminary estimated it.
Okay, but it is mostly just like commodity price volatility and
Yes.
like it's not like that literally like, well, we bid it at a certain time of year and there's more demand then, and had we bid it out even with equivalent prices at a different time, we would have gotten a better price. That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around here. Are we just saying, well, oil prices went up and so the prices are higher?
We're starting to see some of our unit prices come in higher now than we were, say, winter or fall of last year.
I would guess
Or early
labor's
this
gone up
year.
too.
Okay. But it's basically just inputs. It's not Like the term timing of the bid made it seem to me like there was some element here that I wasn't understanding, but you're saying, no, it's basically just the raw inputs are more expensive.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, take a motion, or did you make a motion? You didn't make a motion. And then we'll take public comment after the motion.
I'd like to make a resolution to amend the South Eaton Water Main Project, contract number 10-26P to Bidigar Contractors, Inc., in the amount of $1,288,798.00, plus a 10% construction contingency for a total of $1,351,677.80. And in addition, to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the city, contingent upon meeting all the insurance and bond requirements by FDM Contracting, Inc.
Sorry.
Bidigary contract.
Bidigary Contractors, Inc.
What did I say?
The agenda FDM?
Well, the last,
Misprinted in the agenda.
It looks like there's a typo on the agenda cover page where our software,
Right. but
right,
the
on
one
that
in the
cover page,
packet
the agenda report
on
has the
page
correct names in
123
it.
is correct.
We need him to read it over again. At the beginning, I believe he said make a motion to amend the South Eaton.
Yeah. So,
So probably,
Read the whole thing
also,
over.
we have the and to approve the appropriation amendment of the budget, so,
okay, fine.
Okay.
Sorry. I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution to award the South Eaton Water Main Project, contract number 10-26P to Bidigar Contractors, Inc., in the amount of $1,288,798.00, plus a 10% construction contingency for a total of $1,351,677.80. In addition, to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the city, contingent upon meeting all the insurance and bond requirements by Bidigar Contractors, Inc., and to approve the appropriation and amendment of the budget as follows. Can I just say on page 123?
Per the graph on page 1.
Per the graph on page 123.
Second.
motion and second. Comment from the commission? Comment from the public? Anybody in the public? If you're online, on Zoom, use the raise your hand function. Seeing none. Anywhere? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kolb,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Host,
Yes.
Mayor Ballard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Long.
yes.
Item C, a resolution directing the Department of Public Services to proceed with Plan B as the preferred strategy for the remaining parks bond funds, including completion of the proposed booth park improvements and advancement of playground improvements at St. James Park and Kenny Park. To further direct staff to evaluate opportunities to include priority drainage, pathway, and accessibility improvements within the available project funding, and to return to the City Commission for approval of final project scopes, contract awards, and any required budget amendments. So this is basically, we are down to our last amount of bond funds that we approved, 12.25 million?
11.25.
11.25.
And can I second that?
No, there's no, that was
You didn't
just the
say a motion.
introduction of
Okay.
the
Topic at hand.
introduction. I want the public to know that we're talking about the Parks and Rec bond that we passed in 2020? 2020,
Yes.
yeah, pre-COVID.
With 70% approval.
Yeah, and, you know, we spent a lot of it, and we're about to spend the rest of it.
Yeah.
We have to make some choices, right?
Yeah,
And you have some preferences?
recommendations, but
Yep.
obviously, as
Okay.
always, the commission has final say.
Of course.
For the record, this topic was discussed with the Parks Board, and they were as split as you could imagine with their recommendation also, and it was from the point of
they both saw value in doing chunks and doing all-out pieces of the projects. It's one of those things where there isn't a right answer and there isn't a wrong answer. It's just, we have to make a decision and move forward. It's basically, to your point of what you said, it's the question that Therese asked a while ago, I feel like years ago now, of do we have enough money to accomplish everything? And at that time, I could not tell you, because we had bigger projects coming that we had to at least get somewhat designed so we could get construction estimates to see where we're really going to be at. And basically, they're coming in way higher than we would have hoped. It's the economy of where we have gotten to as a society that is kind of leading to these costs. And even our designers who have done work in many cities around us, they've been saying that it is the same economy of scale growth they've seen everywhere. So to an extent, they weren't surprised. It was high, a little higher than they anticipated themselves as they were like putting it together for us. They were hoping it could be a little lower, but as they pulled in new data, it came up higher. It's based on other cities' projects that have occurred within the last year or awarded during this past year that kind of got them to their points. And we can get more into that later. To start with, we kind of wanted to very quickly summarize, and this is in the packets I've given all of you and that we're putting up on the board here, what we've accomplished so far with this issuance of the bond. So this doesn't include the first issuance of the bond. This is the second issuance. The West Lincoln playground improvements, the Pump House playground improvements, the Poppleton Park fully inclusive playground, which is currently underway, Pembroke Playground, which is, the equipment's been ordered, but we're trying to make sure project goes right after we get the equipment, so we've been holding off on that, but the money's been set aside for it. And we're sitting here, hopefully later tonight, approving Booth Park to move forward. So with all of that, we still technically had planned and budgeted amounts for Kenning improvements, St. James improvements, which are both larger scale, the entire park seeing different types of work occurring. Crestview, an accessible playground, and a Howarth Park accessible playground. Sorry.
Universally accessible the same as fully accessible? When you refer to Poppleton?
Poppleton is fully inclusive.
Inclusive, sorry.
Fully inclusive playground, which, accessibility, universally accessible means all ways you can get there, no matter what. So ramps and decking for wheelchair accessibility. So at Poppleton, although it is fully inclusive, it doesn't have all the ramping and decks. However, if you can transfer from a wheelchair to the equipment, it is accessible all the way to the top, which is very easy to do at Poppleton with the poured-in-place surface.
Which one is more?
That one.
Inclusive is.
Yeah, inclusive is the more.
Is better, more expensive, the one you want if you can afford it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one big push that has come out of like our entire plan for all the parks and from talking with residents and stuff is inclusivity in general. So we've been incorporating, it's another reason why a lot of these projects have been costing more, is accessibility to some amount that is better than just engineered wood chips. Because engineered wood chips technically meet the requirements, but we try to provide portions of poured in place so that people can actually get to all of the equipment in some aspects. And we want to make sure everybody can enjoy it. And that has caused additional costs. That's some of what we're seeing in these different projects. So as we all remember, Booth got pushed because of the MDNR grant. And we've been slowly chasing the MDNR grant. Finally got everything from the state, hence why we're trying to do the award later today. Well, that got pushed back. We got direction from commission, go ahead and chase all the smaller playground projects, and we brought them all forward. And so we've been doing a lot of those. And again, they've been more expensive than we originally thought they would be with the grant, but we've been trying really hard to focus on hitting those target allowances for each park. And as even we came towards the end of this, some of our ones that are showing here is 300,000 each. We were actually putting aside some general funds, Parks Fund money, to go towards those to help extend the bond further. So really quick, we want to show you kind of where the concepts have gone and where the costs are kind of at in St. James and Kenning, because we do have opportunities to piece these together, but we recognize there's other impacts. Like in St. James's case, we have 400 East Lincoln right there. Next is going to be moving in there. So as we went into the review with all the users groups, we got input directly from Next and that part of the community to try to incorporate stuff in that. And we always knew once we bought that building that we were going to need to incorporate some of that. And so that's kind of where the conundrum comes as to, do we fully want to do St. James right now? Or do we do the piece that was most critical to, as part of what the users groups asked for when the bond was pulled initially, which is the playground specific? So this is a general layout of where we've come so far with all of our users groups on general design for St. James. As you know, the playground is in the southeast corner of the park. We intend to keep it in that same general area. Update it with a lot of the new equipment, provide more accessibility, the same way we've been doing all of our smaller parks in our neighborhoods around the communities. Additionally, they were going to change the orientation of the softball field to make it more user-friendly and fit the space a little bit better. And we were going to try to potentially pull down in their more recent concepts, as you can see from on the right-hand side of the page to the left-hand side of the page. The left-hand side is the newer concept, where they've pulled the tennis courts down a little further. As you know, right now, they're right in that corner. They're falling apart. They need to be replaced anyways. So we're moving them in more, pulling them down a little bit, and we're looking to add a basketball court off the end of it, because the current basketball court that's down by the actual playground floods out on a pretty regular basis in the spring. It's kind of hard to use, that sort of thing. It also provides a little extra space for a small soccer field to go in there as well, and provides additional opportunities. Now, the area that's a little easier to kind of make out here in light blue, the rectangle, that's meant to be a entry space with a little bit of cover for people to sit at, provide tables and stuff. We're looking at possibility of adding types of yard games such as shuffleboard, that sort of thing, that are more meant to gear a little bit towards Next. And then Next has been in conversations with us about donating outdoor equipment. We're also looking at outdoor exercise equipment to add in and sprinkle along these paths that we have going through St. James. Now, the good news is all of this can be kind of broken up into different groups. And they've actually updated their project areas into, they think they can make it in 4 instead of 5 sections. But at the time of putting this together, and for the sake of conversation, just know that we could segment this successfully into something we can do over time and do upfront. That user group that was intended, the playground area, and then we can do a few other items, and then we can work on other stuff and keep our costs currently low. It will unfortunately add to overall costs. If you do this entire park right now, the estimated cost, which, as we know, when things come in, may be higher, is $2.5 million, roughly. And go ahead and move forward. And they've provided in your packets breakdowns of these different areas as to how much they cost as you go through them.
What are you what is the plan you're advocating is Plan B? What does that include?
So I want to get through both parks, and then I'm going to walk back to what Plan B is in the report.
Is that okay with you? Okay.
Because it's critical to the conversation.
Okay.
So go ahead and move on to, yep. So at Kenning Park, we have drainage issues are a major problem here. We have a park playground that needs to be updated. Anybody who's generally familiar with around the tennis bubble, there is water that's constantly around that tennis bubble. That's the major drainage issues we're concerned with. And it kind of continues its way back towards the playground areas. So in the spring, it's really bad. Any major rainstorms you have, it's really bad. But again, trying to update the playground. Yep. And then we want to reorientate the Little League field in green, turn it to fit the space a little bit better. And then there's technically a softball field is the one that's directly south of the ice arena. We want to turn that so that, or make it a little bit bigger and nicer so that it encourages more use. Currently, it isn't really used as much because it's not in the best of shape. But by reorienting these a little bit and redoing that field, we also open up the possibility to have a soccer field in the space there, so we encourage more use in different ways of the space. And then the other thing, which is a little harder to see on this, is the gray that goes around everything on here is new walking paths to take advantage of all the beautiful trees that are in the area and have walking paths that work their way around the park. Was it roughly 3/4 of a mile or something like that is what it came to, of paths that we commit. And again, when you go through it, and we truly believe Kenning's one that you can definitely do in chunks and pieces over time, it's another 2.5 million. And if you go back, you saw that we only budgeted 1 million for the one, 1.7 million for the other. So you're seeing the major cost overruns compared to what we had planned for. So we are trying to get additional items, and we have successfully secured some donations for different things in all of our parks, not just these two specifically. We've gotten a huge donation towards the butterfly section of Booth Park, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. They are covering all the costs with that. So we try to find.
How much is it?
It's right around $30,000.
Yeah. So, we encourage everybody, if you want to donate to any of our parks in any way, you can go on to our city donation page. It's called See My Legacy. And you can go donate for specific little projects. You can donate for like benches and stuff. There's all sorts of items. And we always are trying to encourage people to go there and use it. We're hoping as some of these projects kick off, there'll be a little more attention to them and people will donate more. But you only get so much right now. And we're continuing to look for grants for different items to try to update things. We try to do a lot of our maintenance in-house to help save on costs with those sorts of things as well. So you asked what was the plan? So in the report, we kind of laid out chunks of this because as we've been bringing forward these smaller parks, and that was the discussion we had in-house, is the intent of the bond was to cover multiple parks. It wasn't meant to only cover one park. And so, I'll get to it. My apologies.
And so what's the pot of money we've got left?
It is roughly,
It's
$3,267,133.64.
yeah, I was going to say roughly 3.3, but I wanted to make sure before I said that. So that's the comparison that we throw up in our report is that, that's the one report I can't find here. My apologies. Is to just be focusing on those priority improvements. Trying to find the exact. Okay. Plan B, fully complete proposed improvements at Booth Park, which we do have a recommendation for budget adjustment that comes with that. That was included in our estimates that we did with this. While providing only playground improvements at Kenning Park and St. James Park, rather than completing full scope of work for each of those parks. That leaves us with with approximately $922,000, which could be used to go towards future drainage improvements and the playground improvements at Crestview and Howarth Parks. And there may be some money left over at the end of it, not a significant amount. What that would do is change all those pieces of the puzzle for each of the other parks would become things that we determine what the official true priority is on getting that work accomplished, and we bring them in as general fund requests in future budget years so that we can keep working through items. As opposed to put all the money in the bucket for if we had to, which was one of our recommendations, A, is just focusing on St. James because of what's going on with the next building there and trying to completely do that playground. And then we would do the same thing with segments on Kenning and the other two parks, bringing them in as requests later. So hence why we're asking for direction. The wish list puts us in the hole approximately 3.7 million if we were to do everything that we originally planned to do this year.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation?
Yep.
All right, I'm sure we have comments from the commission. Commissioner, Mayor, temporary, provisional, interim, Mayor Pro Tem Long.
So, I was chair of the Parks and Rec Board when we put forth the bond and developed the priority list for the bond, and then championed it once I was elected to the city commission. And I actually think there is a right answer, and I think that it's Plan B, because I pulled off out of my records what we told the public when we promoted voting for the bond. We had a priority list, and we said, these are the things we hope to accomplish, and we did. The first bond issue was Adams Park, the ice arena, and some trail improvements and creating a pickleball court, and we pretty much did that. But for the second bond issue, the priority was playgrounds in all the parks, and Crestview and Howarth were on the list to get playgrounds, and I think that Plan B allows us to keep the promises we made to the community. I understand, and I watched the recording of the August 4th Parks and Rec meeting. I think actually more of the members of the Parks and Rec Board were good with Plan B. There was one who was pretty passionate about Plan A, but I think it is premature to do St. James all the way through at this point, because Next isn't in the building yet, and there may be things we don't understand about how we want to use that space, or if we go back to the elevator discussion, additions, changes, construction. So I think Plan A is premature. Plan C, that's a wish list. So I am strongly in support of Plan B, and at that meeting, Carrie, I think you said there would be a little bit more than just playgrounds at St. James and Kenning, and I don't know if this is the point where you said there's a little bit more would be included in some of those than just the playground equipment alone. You said you could do a few more updates in both of those parks. But
We can clarify if you like.
We do think we can. As, since the time of this writing of the report, our consultants have been fine-tuning those costs and seeing how they can combine things. So we think we can incorporate the entry area potentially at Kenning, where, because a lot of the comments from the public were that we don't even know that there's a playground at Kenning. So, I think that would really be impactful for not a lot extra cost and doable with that remaining 922 and some change.
I think you've really thought this out, and what Commissioner Long said about why the people voted for this bond Plan B makes the most sense because we're following through on at least aspects of everything that we included in the bond.
I have a question. If we do Plan B, when will the Kenning and St. James playgrounds get done?
This fiscal year, we have them.
Yeah, we have the money in position to proceed forward this fiscal year with those.
Well, fiscal year, season.
Oh.
Probably
it'd
spring.
Probably become spring because of where we're at right
When will Booth Park, if we approve the contract tonight?
now. We are hoping to break ground after
Labor Day.
I was like, Memorial.
Okay, and then if we decide there are ways we want to spend the $922,000, $324.03, well, now we're talking another year down the road for that, or would that likely be eaten up in the next fiscal year? Spent.
Well, it's hard to say, but it would be within the following fiscal year.
But I mean, you're soliciting public input on Crestview now.
Yes,
so,
we are.
I mean, that is, the public believes Crestview is happening, which is
Yes.
another reason to support Plan B.
Yes.
Because they're asking for opinions
Okay,
about
that's
it.
just, my question is, when is that? You know, to me, every year you don't spend it, is it invested? Does it grow? Does that money grow?
It does technically grow to an extent, but we have only so long before
Yeah.
we can technically have to use it.
When do we have to use it?
I don't remember what that is off the top of my head.
Okay.
All
right.
If our finance
I
director was
just
here, she
think,
could
you
answer
know,
that.
people want the improvements, we got the dough, this is the prudent way to go, Plan B, but there's nearly $1 million there waiting to be spent on the stuff that people voted to get done. So let's get her done, whatever it is.
Yeah, so I probably broadly support Plan B. But I was having some trouble. You have all these different phase diagrams and lots of lists of stuff, and I was having a very hard time mapping out what I thought, because like none of these things, if I just like pick one of these phases for Kenning and pick one for St. James, I feel like they don't add up to whatever, 2.4 million, which is what we're saying we're going to spend here. So I would like to see a more detailed breakdown, line items about, you know, and Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Long mentioned this as well. What exactly are we saying we're thinking we're going to do in St. James and Kenning Park in Phase B? Because it seems like it's more than just, like significantly more perhaps than just the playgrounds in terms of expense.
So we did get updated. That was the problem, is those literally came in after we submitted everything for this. And I didn't want to muddy the waters further by bringing in new documents explaining the breakdown of that stuff. Do you have the?
I have, yep. So, let's see.
I mean, if we're only talking about broad strokes, like, I agree with the broad strokes of like, let's focus on the playgrounds in those parks. Let's make sure we have some money left over to do Crestview and the other parks.
Yep.
If all we're giving is that broad direction, I'm happy to do that, and we can fill in the
That is
details
the intent.
later.
Yes, especially because we have to now go back and go, okay, now we're going to look at just this piece and get true final numbers, because if there's little tweaks we have to make to set it up for the next section to be tied to it later, now we know we have to build it that way.
Okay.
And I can help just a little bit more. So what they've done in our updated drawings is combined the red and the blue together on the screen into one, but it is a little more than that, 400, and it's at 477 combining those two. So it's, you know, it's going to tap into that 922 a little bit more, but not utilize.
Sorry, maybe I'm not being clear about my confusion. So my confusion is, we're starting with $3.26 million, right? And then we're going to spend some amount of money on Kenning Park, some amount of money on St. James, and we're going to end up with $922,000.
Oh, you're
so
asking
between that's my understanding of what we're saying here.
Yep.
And so I'm saying between those two projects, we're spending $2.3 million. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm looking at these line items, I'm trying to figure out what do I sum up to
Some of
get that
that booth,
$2.3
though,
million number?
That's some of that
And
is
some of that is
Yeah.
booth.
Yep,
Okay.
you've
Yeah,
got
which is the
food,
next
you've
item.
got to get to the final number where we're at, you actually have to back out all of our projects currently.
Okay.
And
Booth and Pembroke.
get it down to that final number.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
why
So
it doesn't.
this is how much we're sitting at, including the stuff that's spoken for on other projects. This is
Yes.
not how much we
Yes.
have for St. James and Kenning and Crestview, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay,
Now
that was my
I understand the
misunderstanding.
question.
Okay, thank you.
Trust me, we had a lot of conversations with finance to make sure we all understood where we were going with this. So.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution to direct the Department of Public Services to proceed with Plan B as the preferred strategy for the remaining park bond funds, including completion of the proposed Booth Park improvements, advancement of the playground improvements at St. James Park and Kenning Park. Staff is further directed to evaluate opportunities to include priority drainage pathway and accessibility improvements within the available project funding, and return to the City Commission for approval of final project scopes, contract awards, and any required budget amendments.
Second.
Motion second. Any comment? Comment from the public? Happy to take comment from the public. Anybody present, come forward. If you're online, use the raise your hand function. I don't see any hands. Going once, going twice, bringing it back. Roll call, please, even though it's probably not required.
Commissioner Host,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolb,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozowski,
Yes.
Mayor Ballard.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good work.
This makes this next presentation way easier.
Yeah, I could imagine that might be a problem.
You think so?
The next item is a resolution to approve the contract with Warren Contractors and Development, Inc. for the construction, how many years later? 22 years later, of the Booth Park Entry Plaza and Trail Improvement Project in the amount of $2,185,922.61. Does that include the $400,000 we got?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So our
because-
cost is actually 400-ish less than that, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
just to be clear, what's 400,000 out of that? Brings you down around 1.7-ish, right?
Yeah, but the catch-22 is that the type of grant it is, we have to complete the work, then submit, then they give us the money back, so we have to have the upfront
Right,
money
gotcha.
to do it.
Just when we say how much it costs.
Yep, and
be talking
that
net.
is, yeah, and that is in the calculations of the sheets that helped cause some of the confusion in our last presentation.
Is there much to present here?
No, the short one would be is if anyone would like an explanation of why we selected the contractor we brought forward, or if the report covered it.
I think the report covered it.
And if there's,
If there's something you want to highlight for the general public, please do.
it was just solely the fact that when we went through the process, the low bid was found to, in our opinion, to not be qualified to complete the construction. Mainly of the bathroom facility was our largest concern. During interview, they clearly stated that they would be the ones doing the actual build of that. And they provided us no documentation showing that they truly had the ability to complete that work. We presented that because all this has to be approved by MDNR. We showed them our conclusions that we drew, and they concurred with our decision and approved us to move forward with coming to the commission for award.
Okay. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest in the bathroom. So could you, now that we are actually pulling the trigger, right? This is pulling the trigger on a public bathroom, the first freestanding public bathroom in Birmingham.
Great description of it.
Decades of discussion. Could you give us a brief overview of what that public bathroom is going to maybe look like and where it's going to be located?
So she's going to pull it up from our plans, which.
I think I'm going to pull up the renderings that I still have, if
Yeah.
that might work.
So this was a huge discussion by the commission, feels like eons ago at this point, to do a custom build because we wanted to ensure that it got basically the beauty that we come to expect in this city.
Should be at least as good as a pump house at a CSO drain.
Yes. So, And also that's the donation piece was that piece. So if you go back here, it is going to be in the location, actually it's been adjusted since discussions.
Is this the old one?
Yes, that's the old one. It's going to be tucked up to basically the north edge of the property.
I'm sorry, I have the wrong one.
No, it's okay. You guys can pass this across. Basically, we shifted things around with one of the spots that was intended to be for, as we had on here, these areas for the, like bringing in the food trucks and stuff and having the ability for seating. We shifted, basically flopped with, originally the bathroom was here, now it's up in here, hidden by the trees.
So, just to review, we approved a concept plan, correct?
Correct.
I definitely remember that. Did we ever approve a final design?
No.
Okay. All right, and this looks like what you had up there.
Yeah, that sheet is what I pulled through up there.
So do we not even have, I don't mean, I am the biggest proponent of this project on earth. And are you telling me we don't have a picture of the final plan?
We have all the plans in the packet.
I'm sure that there's construction and engineering drawings that have to go to the state and the contractor and in the RFP, but that doesn't mean that you can find them and show them.
I guess what I'm looking for is a rendering of I'd like just a plan view of the.
Yep, that's
the
what
park.
she's pulling up.
And
right
then,
here.
not an engineering drawing, something basically like that, but that's accurate.
That is the general concept plan view of this.
Okay. And then, do you have a rendering of the toilet?
I do have it on this, I just have to find it. No, this is old, I'm sorry. Rendering. Oh, that's our latest. I have it on the website.
It is apropos that we're searching for a bathroom.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry.
I said it's apropos we're searching for a bathroom.
Well, I think they've got the bathroom. Why don't you skip to the bathroom? And
That's what we've been last year, a bathroom.
Yeah, we do have our architect Sugarism online. I'm not sure if she'll be able to pull up the most recent renderings.
now we're talking about the bathroom, or are we talking about?
There you go.
Here's the rendering from our
Okay.
website.
Okay.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, pretty much. What is the bathroom going to look like? And roughly where is it going to be? It told us roughly where it's going to be. I'm satisfied with that. Fellow commissioners, are you all?
We are at the end of the road.
I'm waiting. I'm eager for a motion.
I would like to make a motion adopting a resolution to approve the contract with Warren Contractors and Development Incorporated for the construction of the Booth Park Entry Plaza and Trail Improvement Project for the amount of $2,185,922.61. Further, to authorize the mayor and city clerk to assign the agreement on behalf of the city, and in addition to appropriate and amend the 2026-2027 budget as follows. Park System Construction Fund revenues drawn from fund balance 408.0-000.000.400 $2,185,922.61, and expenditures for land improvements, Fund 408.2-901.751.979.000, $2,185,922.61.
Second.
Comments, public in the room? Online, we have a hand raised. Christy Barrett. Christy Barrett, I believe your name is in bronze at Booth Park.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, I'm just curious if the bathroom, yes, you are correct, Mayor Ballard, we worked together on fundraising for that, and I want to make sure that the original donor is not like wall is not blocked by the bathroom. So, and I just joined, so I don't know if you reviewed this or it's been discussed or what, but I just wanted to give my.
So your concern is the donor wall that exists, that it is as prominent, let's say, as it exists today, that it's not like behind the bathroom.
It won't be behind.
Exactly. And then you may have discussed this. I just joined like 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. So.
Can you assure us that the donor wall will not be
Yes.
Obscured.
Yes.
by the bathroom?
We laid it out in the field at the
Okay.
park. It will
All
not be
right.
blacked.
All right. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Or I want my donation back.
No, we don't. That was non-refundable.
What?
Okay. Anybody else? If you're online, use the raise your hand function. Okay, bring it back. We have a motion. We have a second. Any comment on the motion from the commission? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Host,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolb,
Yes.
Mayor Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozowski.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Proud day for all of those in the community who 25 years ago participated in the community build. If anybody wants photos, I have an extensive library right on my phone. And
Please let the Parks and Rec Board know we appreciate all the work that they have done to get us to this point.
Thank you.
Yep. Much rather spend $3 million than on truckloads of asphalt. Okay.
Second.
We move on to item E, a resolution to appoint blank, one of us.
Yes, one of you, if any of you plans to attend that conference. If you do not, Assistant City Manager Clemens will be going in, will be your alternate.
Okay, this is in Traverse City. This is a bonus. Is the city of Birmingham paying any expenses for this?
Yes.
What expenses will be paid?
For you to
Lodging
go?
and a per diem, or a per diem?
I don't know about a per diem, but I know we pay your registration and your lodging, yes.
And lodging, okay.
Bar tab?
No, absolutely not your
No,
bar
but this
tab.
is, this is the Michigan Municipal League. This is a big deal. I would go if I was in town. Unfortunately, I'm leaving for somewhere else that day. Anyone care to volunteer to go to Traverse City in October? The leaves are changing. It's a great town. I'm shocked.
I will be at a different conference already, so.
Okay.
I'm in Europe with my grandkids.
Okay, wow, wow. Okay, well, maybe, what are our other alternatives? None,
Commissioner
just,
Haig, who isn't
Oh,
here.
okay.
Or, you can just make Mark Clements the primary voting
Okay.
delegate.
Yeah, let's have a motion, please, to appoint Mark Clements. My suggestion.
I'd like to make a resolution to appoint Assistant City Manager Mark Clemens as the City of Birmingham's official voting delegate, and an alternate to perhaps be named for the Michigan Municipal League annual meeting to be held in Traverse City, Michigan on October 7th, 2026.
Second?
All All those in favor? Does this involve spending money? Do we need a roll call? No? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. Fractionally unanimous. Okay. Commission items for future discussion. A motion's required to bring up the item for future discussion at the next reasonable agenda. No discussion or very little will happen on the topic tonight. Does anyone in this fractional quorum, whatever, have an item to bring up? Going once, going twice? Okay, we move on to item G. Commission discussion on items from a prior meeting. Mayor selection process is the item.
I have something from a prior meeting.
It's not on the agenda. We do have something on the agenda from a prior meeting.
Oh.
Which it is.
Okay.
So my understanding of this process, and please, anyone who wants to dispute or add to that, my understanding is that the three-step process is you bring up the item at a meeting. At the next meeting, you have an opportunity, or the next reasonable meeting, you have an opportunity to expand on that, take it to, and then get a vote to take it to a third step. So if you brought up an item in the past, you got to kind of wait. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, you got to kind of wait for the city administration to say they're ready to talk to it. Usually, it's brought up pretty quickly. It's the second stage, because that's just, do we want to talk about it? It's the third stage, and is this, for the one on the agenda tonight, is that the third stage we're at
Yes,
now?
it is.
Okay.
And this is one of the older ones on the list.
Right.
Because, you
Right.
know,
It's been around a long time. The point is,
It doesn't come up for stage 3 till it comes up on the agenda.
so if there's something you brought up at the last meeting, and for some reason, this is directly to what you're like trying to bring up something. If you didn't, you can't just randomly choose to say, I want to discuss this because we talked about it at a prior meeting. What is the item that you are desirous of talking about?
Well, in February, we discussed the fact that these developers are not paying for the parking system or the public roads that they're using, which belong to all of us. And I'm just wondering, in March, you said as mayor that the city staff was looking into it, and I wonder where we are on developers paying for use of the city of Birmingham taxpayers'
Like the
streets.
Porsche dealership and the...
I think he's referring to the builder's bonds, and we did bring it.
No, I don't think he is.
No,
But I thought that.
I'm referring to the parking system
Yeah.
and the public roads, which we all own.
But I thought we had agreed, correct me if I'm wrong, that we would begin charging developers for metered parking spaces which were rendered inoperable.
Oh, for staging. Oh, yes, we
during
did, and we
construction.
are.
So we are now billing developers if they,
Talking about parking.
yes.
Yes, we are.
Well,
have
good,
changed.
well, good, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, so to get back to the agenda as printed, and we are on stage 3 of a discussion of the mayoral selection process. And this is a mixture of, like, sort of just us. The administration's not part of it. And some that they have a say in, or they ought to contribute. So bear with me, and I will just basically read. I'm sorry, it's not on paper. So several city commissioners, including me and members of the public, have expressed a desire to continue refining the process by which the commission chooses the mayor and mayor pro tem. This discussion is timely, given our shared desire to continue to enhance transparency, the need to conform with a new state law that you may not know about, that may delay the swearing in of new commission members in election years. I will get to that in a moment. A desire to reconcile the city's the process of picking a mayor with the city's rhythm of holding city commission elections every 2 years while appointing the mayor and mayor pro tem every year. So there was a sort of a conflict between our process last year. You know, we didn't hold a workshop because the people who were going to be voting on the mayor hadn't even been seated, couldn't participate in the workshop. And the need to amend the charter, most likely, to move forward the date on which the commission holds its annual organizational meeting, which is now the second Monday in November, possibly to sometime in January of the following year, at least in municipal election years, because as the city attorney will explain to us shortly, this new rule says that when we vote in November, those people who get elected don't take office right away at the next meeting. They have to wait until the next year. But our charter currently says very specifically, on the second Monday in November of each year, the commission shall meet at the usual place for holding the meetings, blah, 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 and appoint somebody mayor and mayor pro tem. Okay? So, why don't you address, I think we should address the charter and the law and all that, and then we can come back to discussing the other stuff.
So as voting has changed, and I'm going to look to the clerk to make sure if I say anything wrong that she corrects me. As voting has changed in the state of Michigan, it is taking a different amount of time for the ballots to be
certified.
Thank you, certified. And that is done by the county, not us. So the problem has been that it's taking them longer to certify, and yet our charter says the first Monday after the election, your commissioners will be sworn in. However, we can't swear you in until the ballots have been certified. Thankfully, and this has been going on for a couple years, that we've been holding our breath, particularly Alex back there. Luckily, the state did do something about this, and they stepped in, and now there's a time limit that the county now has, which is 14 days after the Thursday. After the Thursday of the election, the clock doesn't start ticking that night. It's 14 days after a certain period, which means that we won't necessarily have a certified ballot and certified commissioners consistent with our charter. But that's okay, because as soon as the state says something that's different than our charter, the state preempts our charter. We don't have to change it. We put a footnote on Muni Code and a footnote saying that this particular provision has been superseded by state law.
Okay, stop right there. Which provision of the charter do we not need to change?
We do not need to change section, so it's chapter 3, section 4.
Which says?
At each regular election, there shall be elected commissioners equal in number to those commissioners whose terms will expire on the first Monday following such election, each of whom shall serve for a term of 4 years, beginning at 8:00 p.m. on the first Monday following such regular election. So we don't have to change that. It's superseded by state law.
However,
Section 5 of Chapter 3 says the language that, Mayor, you previously read. On the second Monday in November of each year, the commission shall meet at the usual place, and at that organizational meeting, shall elect one of its members as mayor, et cetera, and mayor pro tem.
Which has nothing to do with the election results, right? That's just an organizational meeting to appoint a mayor and a mayor pro tem.
However, the
And
effect
there's no
is,
state law that governs that.
that is
So there's
correct.
no state law that's going to supersede that and automatically move our organizational meeting to later.
So
in
we
the
have to
year.
change it.
Well, it's advisable. You could have
Yeah.
lame ducks voting on the next mayor. That's
Right.
the alternative.
Right, so you could still go forward, but then you don't have new, like this year, for instance, it doesn't matter because there's not a general municipal election. So you still have to comply with Section 5. You shall, on the second Monday in November, and there is a commission meeting the second Monday in November, have your organizational meeting and elect a mayor and a mayor pro tem. But next year, there will be a general municipal election, and if we don't change Section 5 in the charter, it can read just like this, and you can still do the same thing, but then you may have sitting commissioners electing a mayor when they're going to be out in 3 weeks. So that,
Seems a little weird.
Right, and maybe somebody who's newly elected but not yet seated, they couldn't be named as mayor or mayor pro tem. Not that we normally do that with a new person, but
Right.
because
Because they're not there.
they're not there, you couldn't choose
So-
them.
Alex wants to say something.
Yes.
It's December 1st is the start date,
Thank you. December.
not January, December 1st.
Right, but what we're saying is that to get the new, my recommendation would be to change Section 5 and go through the process of a charter amendment, which is laborious, to maybe be your second Monday in January, so that the new commissioners have a couple meetings to settle in.
And
get-
what ballot would that be on? That would be on the November 2027 ballot. At the same time we're voting for these new commissioners, we're also changing the charter.
Unless we were able to get it on the August, which we may have to get special permission for, but otherwise it would be in the November ballot.
In any event, there's no urgency to doing that. There's plenty of time for you to investigate the legality,
We will need to get started on the process in about January, February of 2027 because it is laborious. You have to approve the ballot. It has to go to the Attorney General. They tend to be very particular about ballot language. It goes back and forth a couple of times. So anytime we amend it, you have to approve it before we can send it. And then once the Attorney General's office approves it, it gets sent to the governor for approval. And then it finally gets back, hopefully in time to make it up to the county by early August to be on the November ballot.
So we got about a year.
It does take the full scope. So definitely January 1, we'd want to get started on this for sure.
any, Commissioner Host?
The city clerk said that it has to be official by December 1st. Why are we talking January 1st? Why not just change it to the first meeting in December?
Did you say official by December 1st, or
So-
clock starts ticking December 1st?
You shouldn't be swearing people in and letting them take action until after the canvass. So the law would say that these newly elected officials cannot start working until noon on the first day of the month following the election. So November election, they take office December 1st is the soonest they should be able to start taking action. And that gives us enough time to make sure that the election is canvassed.
So there's two issues. That's that. No problem there. We can comply with that. Has nothing to do with the charter amendment. The charter amendment says, when do we elect a mayor and a mayor pro tem from among the group? I think she's just saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, make it after January 1st, give those people time to be seated, get settled in, attend a meeting or two, finish up the holiday season.
Right, and there might be a lot of people that miss meetings in December with the holiday
So
season.
I think, is that, am I correct?
Yes.
That that's why you suggest maybe in January? It could be any time. We could make it in June if we want. I mean,
You could do whatever.
There's no
Right.
reason, there's no reason practically that the selection of mayor or mayor pro tem has to be near an election. They're two different things. So if we said, and this is something we can talk about, well, when we change the charter, we could make it anytime we want. And there may be good reasons to make it in September, or, everybody's always here, or something like that. I don't know. Can anybody think of any reasons why we'd want to make it some time other than relatively close to an election? I think it's awkward, actually. It has been awkward having it so close to the election. And you may remove some of that awkwardness by just getting it away from the election altogether.
Well, unless there's the rare occasion that the mayor is up for reelection and is not reelected, or the person who's mayor chooses not to run for reelection. So I'm not sure you want a huge gap, but I do think January sounds reasonable.
We just want to be careful, too, on which January we pick, Monday that we pick in January, February, because there's a number of legal holidays running around January and February.
So you make a very good point. You don't want to have the mayor elected in June, and then he gets kicked out of office in November, right? And then you don't have a mayor, and you got to do it all again, but not according to the charter. You're doing it because suddenly we don't have a mayor.
Yeah, so I think there should be some proximity, but not, obviously, we cannot do what we've been doing, because we have to change the charter, because it can't be that second meeting.
It can be, you're just going to have a situation.
Right.
So this is more or less an FYI. We're not taking any action. We're giving you some feedback, which you can use when you come back to us within a couple months.
And we will have to change when we seat the new members to, as Alex said, no sooner than December 1st.
So that would be the first meeting in December.
Right.
Could make sense.
Right, but
And we
that's
don't
not
have to do
that's not
anything.
in the charter.
We don't have to do anything to the
Just
charter
maybe
for that. It's
something
just-
That's what the state
inform the
law is going
public.
to say,
Right,
yeah.
just a
We
little footnote.
inform the public of.
Right.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
So this piggybacks on what temporary mayor pro tem Long said. So we would need to outline some sort of protocol, even if it's a small gap, right, about what happens if the mayor is no longer serving as a commissioner as of whatever, December 1st, and then we've got to run 6 meetings before a new mayor.
2 meetings.
Sorry, 6 weeks was what I was thinking.
6 weeks, yeah.
2 meetings before a new mayor shows up. Is there, are there other communities that do this sort of thing, and we can,
You also have a mayor pro tem.
Yeah, the
So
mayor
remember, you
pro
got a
tem.
mayor, you got
Yeah.
a mayor pro tem.
so I guess we would
Unless
say
they're both gone.
hopefully, and
Well, if you
then
lose both of them,
Then
then,
you vote temporary, and you
vote
get-
temporary, and,
Yep.
all right, easy enough.
well, if you're not seating the new people, let's say January 1st or whatever, the old people are still on till then, right?
Well,
If you lose an election in November,
You're still
Well,
serving.
you don't
You're still-
lose an election until the vote
my
is
point is,
canvassed, right?
there's no
Right.
vacancies because of the election. The mayor, should he be voted out of office, or she, would still be mayor until that January point.
No.
No.
No, we're saying the schedule is, the election takes place in November. The certification process must be completed by December 1st. The new commissioners will be seated early December.
Right. Yeah, right. Okay, sorry.
So, and then
No, I get it.
the mayor selection process is a month after that.
Yeah.
So there is
Again,
this
you got the
gap.
mayor pro tem, and if necessary, you just elected temporary.
Yes.
To get
Meetings, yep.
Over the holidays.
So,
But there'll be no lame duck stuff. So.
any other questions on that aspect of tonight's discussion? Okay. The public, anybody who might want to make a comment can hold off or raise your hand. I don't see anybody. Okay. Now, back to the commission for the things that we have to discuss. So 2 years ago, in an effort to increase transparency and deliberate on the selection of mayor and mayor pro tem, the commission agreed to hold a workshop for that purpose just prior to the organizational meeting. Many saw this as a step in the right direction. However, last year, when a municipal election meant that new commissioners would not be seated for such a workshop, the workshop wasn't even held. New commissioners were sworn in and immediately asked to participate in the organizational meeting. Furthermore, in retrospect, the compressed timeline the year prior of a workshop immediately before the organizational meeting did not, in the view of some on the commission and in the community, provide the level of transparency and deliberation desired. So, tonight, I would propose that we talk about considering additional measures, possibly to be included in our rules of procedure, that bring greater transparency and deliberation to the process. What are they? Well, there's a couple here that I probably wouldn't even consider now at this point, but I'll just throw them out there. Should we have written descriptions of the minimum duties of the mayor and mayor pro tem? Should we hold the workshop, or it could just be an agenda item, at least some number of weeks prior to the organizational meeting? Maybe, one meeting prior, 2 meetings prior, so that we can follow some procedure. Now, some possible things. Each commissioner might have the opportunity to indicate his or her willingness and ability to serve as mayor and or mayor pro tem the following year. That doesn't mean you're locking yourself into being a candidate, and it doesn't mean that if you don't suggest or say that you're willing and able to do it, you can't change your mind later on. It's just, maybe at this early meeting, a few people raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm willing to do it. Those indicating a willingness and ability to serve would have an opportunity to discuss their qualifications. And commissioners and the public, including new commissioners, possibly including new commissioners who have been elected but not yet sworn in, could question one another or comment upon the discussion regarding leadership. At the organizational meeting, of course, commissioners could further deliberate, would not be required to take into account the information provided in that earlier workshop. As I said, a commissioner who did not previously express willingness could do so at the organizational meeting. Somebody who had expressed a willingness could say, I'm no longer interested. And nominations for the positions would not be accepted until the commission had deliberated at these 2 separate meetings. You might say, we might formalize some of the questions that those interested in serving or being nominated might be asked and asked to answer. Why are you interested in serving? How would you describe the mayor or mayor pro tem's role? Which, by the way, the mayor's role is kind of spelled out in the charter. The mayor pro tem's role is so limited, it just basically says the mayor pro tem runs a meeting when the mayor's not around. How much time do you anticipate devoting to the job? What qualities do you believe are most important when in presiding over commission meetings? How would you handle disagreements among commissioners? And what would success as mayor or mayor pro tem look like after 1 year? We could come up with any number of other questions that we might want to ask, but I think the broad outlines of this idea is an earlier workshop. Let's get it out there, who's interested, who's not, what are the qualifications, talk about it, then come to the organizational meeting and actually discuss that stuff and not leave everybody thinking, wow, the fix was in, which last meeting, it wasn't. Some folks in the community thought it was, but it wasn't, but whatever. So I'm done.
So you'd have to hold the workshop, the first meeting in October, then? If you don't want to do it, if we only do workshops at the first meeting of the month?
It could be an agenda item.
Okay.
It could be like.
Not a workshop.
We're
just
sitting
an
here,
agenda
it's only
item.
9 o'clock, and we're essentially
Well,
having a workshop.
Yeah, it's
The second of the night.
a rare meeting that it's not midnight. But,
2 in a row right now.
don't jinx it. I don't have any dispute with holding the workshop earlier. It's probably a good idea. Or an agenda item, to have the discussion earlier.
Well, you couldn't have it earlier, I don't think. You have to wait till after the election, right?
No. Well,
if the new commissioners,
they would be, you'd want,
they'd be in attendance as
yeah. So maybe-
non-participants. So
Maybe they could be in attendance and participate from the floor as members of the public. But you're right. The timeline is somebody like sketching out the
So then
timeline.
you'd have to do it if they are not seated till December 1st, then you would have to have the workshop at the second meeting in December, and then the organizational meeting at one of the January meetings.
You're nodding your head. You're nodding your head. Is that, okay. So-
Whether it's a workshop or
Well,
agenda.
Yeah, right. But that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about the rest of that is it's really discretionary. I mean, unless you put it in the rules of procedure and say, that's what we're going to do. But again, I don't think we should hold someone, you've got to announce your sort of candidacy at that first workshop.
Yeah, but
And if you don't, that's it, you can't. No, that's not right.
Yeah, but then what is the point? If they don't
Well-
announce their candidacy and they don't participate as a candidate in the workshop/agenda item. and
Well, I
then-
think I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but come the organizational meeting, they've got some explaining to do. And look, things come up, We've had people who life changes cause them to drastically change on a dime. So you might say something in November or not say something in November, and by January, it's like
different.
Circumstances have changed. So I feel like we need to leave open that opportunity, leave open the possibility for that sort of thing to occur. But yeah, you would say, well, you're interested now, but you weren't 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. Why? Reasonable question. Or, geez, you were interested 3 weeks ago and now you're saying you're not. What's the deal? And you can say, well, it's just personal reasons. I'm not interested anymore. The real thing, the other big part of this, it isn't just whether you're interested in doing it. It's like talking about what the job entails, how you're going to execute it, and this whole idea. I'm telling you, just from experience, this is a difficult job that requires a lot of time, and it takes time to get used to it.
Yep.
And there's a whole lot to it. And you don't have to approach it the way she didn't approach it the way I approach it. She watched every meeting of every advisory board on video. I haven't watched a single one, okay? That's just one example of how we're way different, right? Bless her heart, she didn't include me in Jack when I was mayor pro tem. We had, we had a period. Now, I include her in a lot because, that's just the mayor. So this is talking about not just the mayor's role, but the mayor pro tem's role. I can tell you from experience and from observation, the mayor determines what the role of the mayor pro tem is. Now, the mayor pro tem may or may not be the mayor in waiting. Sometimes he or she is, sometimes he or she's not. I don't believe the mayor pro tem should be the mayor in waiting. That should not be a presumption. And the extent to which the mayor and the mayor pro tem click, trust each other, it's all going to determine how involved the mayor pro tem is in the day-to-day operation of government. That said, that's the mayor pro tem. The mayor, it's how you approach it. And Jana will tell you, you can call Tom Marcus or Joe Valentine or anybody and say, oh boy, they'll tell you, oh boy, that runs the gamut, It runs the gamut from somebody who's very involved, who's not involved, somebody who's a pain in the neck, somebody who's very cooperative, somebody where the city manager has a great relationship, somebody where the city manager has not so great a relationship. It just, so all those things factor into who we should choose as mayor and the quality of leadership that we're going to have. And we ought to talk about it.
So I have a question.
Punctuation. Period. Yes.
So, and, temporary mayor pro tem Long kind of touched on this. I like the suggestions, and I like the idea about the increase in the transparency. I guess I'm trying to figure out what exactly do we gain by splitting it up into a workshop and then an actual agenda item where we do the voting.
We talk about it because it's very, may I answer?
Yeah, please.
We talk about it and we have time to think about it. If you do this organizational meeting with no prior discussion, or you only discuss it that night, it's not transparent at all. It's not deliberative at all.
You're saying there's just sort of insufficient time to...
That night is crazy. You have a bunch of people, there's all their families in the room, and everybody's taking pictures, and you have this long break. It's a bad time to be talking.
Previously, prior to us starting this workshop process, older commissions did have sort of a mayor in waiting process. It's like, and there was some question about whether they deliberated and how OMA played into it. But people, they just showed up at meetings, they made motions, they took votes, and it was over. And the public didn't get any chance to comment, and nobody understood, how the decision was arrived at. And I will say that in some cases, it was reviewed as you've had your turn, now it's my turn. And they would just go through all the commissioners that were still seated. And since they were all seated 15 and 20 years in some of those commissions, everybody went through the list and I spoke with people who had served as mayor who said, quite frankly, it was my turn and I wanted it, but I should have never been because I wasn't good at it. And so it was more of an honorific than choosing someone who was going to be good at the job, who could put the time into it, and who could actually lead the commission. So we wanted to, get away from that, and we came up with this idea of a workshop to allow people to discuss their reasoning, to say who they thought would be suited or why you would be suited, and for members of the public to be able to ask questions and comment and make recommendations. I'm not saying it's a perfect process, but it is different than just showing up and making nominations and motions, which under the old method was the way the agenda was laid out, because there wasn't any other opportunity for any broad discussion.
With a lot of inappropriate phone calls going on in the weeks ahead, or the week before.
Well, I don't know if you want to say inappropriate. I'm not going to say people violated OMA.
I didn't say that. I said they were inappropriate conversations.
Yeah. Lots of.
Anyway, so if we do the staggering, though, we're going to eliminate everyone's family's going to be there and there's going to be taking pictures and stuff, right? That's all going to happen in December.
That'll happen, yeah, when they're seated.
When they're seated.
Yeah.
And then we're not doing this mayoral selection process until January. So I'm saying, even if you compressed it, you just said, it's going to be an agenda item, and boy, it's going to be a doozy. We're going to do all our deliberation, we're going to have periods for public comment, and we're just going to nail this thing out in one meeting.
My preference,
I'm just asking,
My preference
it's just to
is-
give people time to consider.
That's what I think. I think it's important.
I don't really object to it.
It's coming up, I think, think about it, talk about it, and then a couple weeks pass, and then make the decision. It's just like, in a lot of cases, we know an agenda item is coming up, and we get access to a report in advance, we think about it, whatever. This is important enough that it's one of those things I think we ought to have some time.
So are we going to, is the objective here to sort of roll this all into a single charter amendment?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, there's a charter amendment, she'll deal with that. The point might be, to ask them to come up with language for an addition to our rules of procedure, perhaps.
Yeah.
If there's not a sense that we want to put it on the rules of procedure, we can just say, if there's, let's say, call it unanimous consent, that we will just proceed in that manner, and they will schedule those meetings, and we could say.
We should document it.
Okay, I'm open to anything.
So I think to keep your process of the three-step process, where you're heading now, though, is to make a motion to put this on as an irregular agenda item with direction to staff, whomever that may be, to add language to your rules of procedure, taking into account everything that we just heard. I just don't want you guys to forget you need a motion now to put this on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Because you're doing your three-step process. You want to stay consistent.
Usually in the third step, you actually do the business, don't we?
No.
Third step is the business.
Third step is,
Okay.
yep, we
It's telling them
definitely
what to
want
do.
to do this as a
Okay.
full agenda
All
item.
right, okay. Happy to take a motion to, I don't know.
I move that we direct city staff to place mayor selection process as a formal agenda item at their convenience, and provide suggested language to amend our rules of procedure to incorporate the potential cadence that we discussed this evening.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Do we have any comments? Are we unanimously, fractionally unanimously in favor of this?
Marginally.
Marginally unanimously in favor of this? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of this. Thank you. We have nothing removed from the consent agenda. We have communications regarding Next and the Community House. We have commissioner reports, a notice of intention to appoint to the Design Review Board, another notice of intention to appoint to the Historic District Commission, and another notice of intention to appoint to the Advisory Parking Committee. We also had a notice of intention to appoint to the City of Birmingham Community House Foundation Board of Directors. We have an update, and anybody in the public, you're probably not listening now, but dial in to whatever time it is. It's approximately 2 hours and 9 minutes into our meeting for a report on the Dollar Tree at 33877 Woodward that was promised to you many weeks ago, and my sincere apologies that we have not gotten it to it until now. City Manager.
Yes, well, we're just giving an update because people had asked about it. There have been concerns about a Dollar Tree going in, whether it was permitted at this particular address, crime concerns, et cetera. As I think we did mention at an earlier meeting, we did contact several local police departments to see if the crime rate went up as a result of a dollar store. It did not. At least that's what was reported to us. In this particular location, it's the former Save on Drugs location, and that is a retail location. It was built as a retail location, and the parking accommodates a retail location. And it is Dollar Tree that has applied to go in there. They have applied for all of their permits. I believe the permit has been issued. I don't know. I don't believe they've started work yet. But it is a retail use that is permitted there, and it has enough parking. Basically, the only things that'll be controlled will be, whether they have shelves blocking the windows, what the signage will be, et cetera. But it is a legally permitted use, and that tenant does intend, at least to date, to move into that space, and the permits have been issued.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? I have a question or two. Are there any business types that we do not allow? Could a McDonald's open in Birmingham?
There are regulated uses, which are a couple of weird things, such as bathhouses, tattoo parlors, and a couple of things like that.
Tattoo parlors?
That are regulated uses, yes.
Meaning they would have to come for a special land use permit?
For regulated use approval through the city commission. And there are uses in every zone district that are permitted uses, accessory uses, or permitted only with a special land use. This is just, so for instance, if you talked about a McDonald's with a drive, let's say there's a drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's is retail. Retail would be permitted under the zoning, but they may not have enough parking because parking requirements are different for restaurant use compared to a retail store. And then if they had a drive-through, there are some cases where drive-throughs are not permitted, or they are permitted as accessory uses, and it depends.
Okay, so I would submit, it was very interesting that you brought up tattoo parlors, because I would be willing to bet that when tattoo parlors were added to regulated uses, there was...
In 1963 or thereabouts.
Yeah, and only, Hell's Angels and former Marines who were abroad who came back with tattoos. And now it's like totally acceptable part of society. Likewise, dollar stores probably didn't exist the last time we looked at permitted uses or not permitted uses or regulated uses. And now all of a sudden dollar stores are a thing that get people all hot under the collar. So I don't know. I mean, we can't do anything about this dollar store. I'm not sure we'd want to do anything about this dollar store. However, I wonder if we ought to be reviewing the businesses that we require to have permission that are not by right. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be included in the zoning review?
Could be.
Well, that's a good question. Yes.
So I don't know much about dollar stores, but it seems to me that it might be extremely difficult to differentiate between something that qualifies as a dollar store and something that qualifies as other ordinary
5 and 10.
Ordinary retail.
We used to call them 5 and 10.
Yeah, exactly, right. There's
SS Kresge.
right.
Right.
5 and
saying,
dime.
oh, well, if you're, I just feel like we would have to do some kind of micro regulation about the volumes in which you sell things and the prices, and it could be extremely difficult, I think, to just negotiate what we mean when we say what is truly a dollar store. Whereas a tattoo parlor, I think, you can kind of tell if somebody's doing a tattoo parlor.
My guess is probably already has a dispensary.
Yeah, we addressed that.
We addressed that, but
Oh, we dealt with that.
Nick, you're here. Feel free to come up and contribute to the conversation if you want.
He's going to duck and cover.
I'm sure planners, is this not something planners talk about? Changing times, changing mores, and how planning and zoning adapts to those changes without discussing dollar stores and the difficulty, just in general.
The answer is yes, and I actually think where we're trending in our current zoning ordinance update project is to be a little bit more general, because times change so quickly these days, retail environments, office environments, that the way we pigeonholed ourselves in our current ordinance, it's like 25 years old, is extremely unhelpful. So we're actually going the opposite way or a lot of people are going the opposite way to be a little more general so that we can accommodate nice things that may not be specifically listed. And there are strategies, like Jana mentioned, the ones we know that should be regulated, the ones we know cause a little extra concern in the communities, our special land use permit processes. So we're sensitive to those things as well, but it's trending to be more general.
For instance, we used to list what type, retail, flower shop, gift shop, apparel shop, candy shop, all of these things, right?
Fur shop. I think
Right.
Fur shops.
And so if you came in and said, well, I want to sell, I don't know, hats. Well, there was no hat shop listed, so you couldn't do it. It was, yes. So that's what the point Nick is making now, is that it's more general to say that retail is a permitted use.
What was the use? Somebody called me a few months ago and said, boy, you guys don't allow this thing. Do you remember? I think
Tobacconist, probably?
No.
Because hookah bars, for instance, are only allowed in certain areas. That's one we get a lot.
It wasn't
Marijuana
that. It was something
dispensaries,
else.
another
It was
one.
something seemingly. It was
escape
like
rooms,
No, it was like
golf simulators.
a yoga or fitness
Pilates,
studio.
maybe.
Those
of
are
some
are
shop.
limited in terms of where they are
Yeah,
permitted. That's
right.
true.
That's what it was. Why?
Parking.
Parking and
Parking,
yeah.
But you just have
Well,
parking requirement. Why
And I
limit
can tell
where
you
the-
that probably 3 times in the last 25 years, we've brought this up again. Should yoga studios be allowed anywhere downtown or anywhere here? And there's always opposition to it because of the turnover and the traffic and the parking. So like 20 people go to this yoga class, but then 30 people are coming into this yoga class. And so we've never been able to, planning has brought it up before the planning board and the city commission in years past, and we have not been able to change that to allow it in more zone districts.
Mayor Bono, that's something that I would say is a perfect example of what's changed over a 20-year period.
Right.
There weren't these boutique little yoga or Pilates type things in 2005. There are now, and people really love them, but our zoning ordinance has remained a little bit antiquated. So we did manage to get them downtown, but there's plenty of zoning districts where you'd scratch your head when I tell you no, they're not allowed. Adams Square is an example. You'd think
You're kidding.
that'd be a perfect place for that.
It'd be perfect because they got parking.
Parking coming out their ears.
All right, well-
Actually not permitted, so it's another thing that we're.
That makes no sense.
Well-
Does that make sense to anybody sitting up here?
That's why our zoning ordinance update project is so important.
So you will address things like that?
I think confidently I can tell you absolutely yes.
Okay, that's a new one on me. You got oceans of parking there that are not used.
Mm-hmm.
You could fill it up with something, cars.
You could do another whole front shopping center and stuff, enough parking.
Daycare centers are another one that are,
It's really hot right now, yeah.
yep.
Well, and speaking of PPPs, we had a provider of daycare interested in a PPP because the demand is out of sight. And it's costly to put one in a place like Birmingham. But the demand in Birmingham is huge. So if that's something we think is a public benefit for our young families, we might consider a daycare center as something we want to devote some space to. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all.
That brings us to
Commissioner comments.
Commissioner comments. Okay. This might have been an appropriate time to bring up the comment or question regarding something that, about whatever it was, builder bonds or use of public rights of way or whatever. Advisory boards, committees, commissioners' reports, legislation, city staff, Wimbledon Phase 1 project update.
There's just a very brief memo in there that says, as you know, we've negotiated and we've changed that we're going to go with asphalt. And it looks like that's going to start just shortly after the Dream Cruise on the week of August 24th, I believe.
And 2026 Cape Seal program update.
That was just an update to say, as you know, the same contractor that did the Cape Seal on Wimbledon was also doing those 4 projects. So we were monitoring every tiny little step of the way, and it's going so far so good. And now we're just on a punch list. So
Okay. Short-term rental report.
there's not much to report other than Nick on the planning board side, that language is going, or to a public hearing at the planning board, or did it already?
No, it's on the
Next
12th.
week. Yeah.
12th.
Next week. Oh, yeah, Wednesday, and then it'll come to you. But we haven't had any short-term rental issues per se. We're still, of course, monitoring the different sites like VRBO and Airbnb, et cetera, to look for unlicensed ones, but.
Okay. Well, information only, that's just information only. It's 9:22. Was it a before and after? Do we need to wait 9 minutes for you to win the bet?
No, I believed in you, and you were spot on.
2 weeks, 2 times in a row.
Blame me.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Adjourned.
We